Chapter 126. MMP. You're so arrogant. Just wait. When I climb up, I'll sew your stinky mouth shut with a needle. On the cliff, Remy climbed up using his hands and feet. Just now, he only had time to slap the provocative fire dragon in the face before being blown away by its flames. After a short flight, he fell on the rocks and rolled all the way down until he was stopped by a crooked tree. This revenge must be avenged. And I will avenge it today. Remy spat through gritted teeth, feeling very unhappy. It's not just because I was smelled by the fire dragon's breath, but more importantly, why is there a fire dragon in the Forbidden Forest? Remy was pretty sure this was still part of the Forbidden Forest because he could still see Hogwarts Castle. Although the castle is very small at this moment, so small that it is just a small black dot, it can indeed be seen. I don't know where this wild dragon came from, but he actually dared to act wildly on my territory. I can tolerate it, but I can't. He held his breath and continued to climb up. After who knows how long, he finally reached the top of the mountain. Remy's calves were shaking with exhaustion. He originally wanted to hide and take a rest before fighting the stinky dragon, but when Remy saw the situation at the bottom of the bowl, his eyes lit up and he immediately jumped down. Remy slid and rolled to the bottom of the pit at a high speed. Looking at the egg-shaped object in front of him, his eyes lit up terribly. Fire dragon egg. It's 100% a fire dragon egg. Ha 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 ha. I didn't expect you to come here to lay eggs. Now I've got what I want, right? Ha 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 ha. Build a fire. Build a fire. Roast dragon eggs. Roast dragon eggs. Remy deftly built a small cylindrical stove with the surrounding rubble, and carefully placed the dragon egg on it. It was just the right size. As for firewood, it is easy to solve. With miracle alchemy in hand, there is nothing that Remy can't make. Well, it probably won't work to refine firewood with stone. Dragon eggs don't seem to be afraid of ordinary fire. Recalling what he had seen in Hagrid's hut, Remy decided to try a different material instead of ordinary firewood. When Hagrid was hatching the dragon eggs, he placed them directly in the stove, and he used a combination of firewood and charcoal. However, he was unable to cook the dragon eggs and instead hatched them. If Remy had only used firewood, he would definitely not have been able to cook the dragon eggs. Ordinary fire won't work, so what about devil fire? He he he. Remy made a salivating sound towards the fire dragon egg, wiped his mouth and began to refine the magic crystal. First, refine a pile of magic crystals, and then use the magic crystals as raw materials for secondary refining. Magic crystal evolves, come out, flame magic crystal. Remy caught the shiny red magic crystal falling from the sky and scratched the surface of the magic crystal lightly with his fingernail. Suddenly, a raging fire burned on the surface of the magic crystal. Done. Remy casually threw the magic crystal into the furnace and continued to refine the fire magic crystal. 1, 2, 3. Hey! I'm so hot. No, I have to stay away. Remy, who was sweating profusely due to the scorching heat wave, had to choose to move the battlefield away from the stove, but because this was a bowl-shaped pit with poor air circulation, Remy could feel the heat wave no matter how far away he was. Finally, Remy simply ran to the edge of the bowl and fed the stove remotely. Whoosh, oops, I lost it. It's okay, I still have more. Beautiful. Hit the bullseye. Oops, it's off again. Soon, the bottom of the bowl pit was filled with blazing flames. Now Remy is happy, because now he doesn't need to worry about the accuracy at all, the whole bowl is the bullseye. Remy was having fun making and throwing one after another, when suddenly, a deep roar sounded in the air. When Remy looked up, he was immediately shocked. It was the fire dragon from before. Oh my god! Didn't you leave? Why are you back again? In front of him was a blazing brazier, behind him was a cliff thousands of feet high, and above his head was a fire dragon that was obviously furious and was raising its head to spit fire. At this critical moment, Remy gritted his teeth, stomped his feet, converted all the remaining magic crystals around him into fire magic crystals and threw them into the brazier. Then he jumped back and avoided the flames spewed by the fire dragon at the critical moment. Boom! Like adding fuel to the fire, the flames in the brazier instantly turned into a column of fire that shot straight into the sky, like a volcanic eruption. The fire dragon quickly dodged and let out a mournful cry towards the brazier that made anyone who heard it feel sad and cry. I'm telling you, this time I left on my own initiative, I wasn't beaten back by you. And I will come back again. Seeing the fire dragon actually flying towards him, Remy laughed and made an internationally accepted friendly gesture to the fire dragon, then adjusted his posture and aimed his head downward at a lake in the distance. Ride. They. Wind. End. Fly, whoosh. Leaving behind a sonic boom cloud, Remy's body instantly disappeared. Almost at the same time, a huge column of water suddenly rose from the lake in the distance, scaring the small animals drinking water by the lake and causing them to flee in all directions. At the same time, on top of a tower in Hogwarts Castle, Dumbledore and Grindelwald, who were drinking tea and chatting, stood up together and looked at the volcano that suddenly erupted in the distance. One galleon, I bet this has something to do with Remy. Grindelwald put down his teacup and said. The corner of Dumbledore's mouth twitched. 2 galleons, I bet he did it. I told you that if you put him in the Forbidden Forest, he would definitely get into big trouble. So, do you regret it now? Grindelwald teased. Dumbledore rolled his eyes at Grindelwald and thought to himself, at this moment, you still have the mind to laugh at me. Fortunately, Lucius has left, otherwise it would be a big trouble. Dumbledore sighed. You are quite good at thinking on the bright side. Let's go. As he spoke, Grindelwald walked over to Dumbledore and took his hand. Dumbledore immediately looked at him in confusion. I can't apparate here. Take me there. Grindelwald said calmly. I can handle it myself. After mumbling something, the next moment, the 2 figures disappeared at the same time, and when they reappeared, they were already at the edge of the brazier. At this time, the flame in the brazier was no longer rushing upwards, but the flame almost filled the entire brazier. Even if you stood on the edge, you could feel the strong burning sensation. Roar! The fire dragon that was circling around the brazier roared and rushed towards the 2 uninvited guests after discovering them, but these 2 were not Remy. Faced with the oncoming fire dragon, neither of them panicked. Little guy, be quiet, we are here to help you. While saying help, Grindelwald raised his hand wearing the magic glove and pointed at the fire dragon. The fire dragon that was rushing towards him was actually fixed in the air. Seeing Grindelwald easily deal with the dragon, Dumbledore took out his wand and began to wave it. The god of fire leads the way. As the elder wand continued to wave, wisps of flames flew out of the brazier, but they were soon filled with more flames. I haven't seen you for many years. You look weak, Albus. Chapter 127. Am I weak? Bullshit. Dumbledore's face darkened, and he used all his strength to cast magic seriously to prove himself. However, just as he was about to exert his strength, Grindelwald started to insult him again. It seems that you are really getting old and confused. Don't you feel the abnormality of these flames? Why deal with these flames? Can't you just solve the source? It saves time and effort. Grindelwald said. Damn it. I'm just trying to prove that I'm not weak. Giving Grindelwald a fierce glare, Dumbledore simply stopped. You come. Dumbledore said unhappily. Stop it, I'm watching this little guy, said Grindelwald. Aren't you very capable? This little thing won't be difficult for you, right? Dumbledore said. Grindelwald. Hey. You're still trying to compete with me, right? I'm not the headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Whether the fire is extinguished or not has nothing to do with me, said Grindelwald. Haha, this is not a castle, and there is no vegetation around, so just burn it. Dumbledore said with a smile. Then let it burn. Just burn it. The 2 grey-haired old men stood beside the brazier, watching the fire burning in the brazier like children fighting, which made the pinned fire dragon anxious. Roar! Roar! Quiet! With a shake of the magic wand, the fire dragon instantly became stiff and completely unable to move. Seeing this, Grindelwald slowly put down his hand and placed the dragon aside, then continued to stare at Dumbledore, and did not give in even though both of them were sweating profusely from the fire. Sizzle, sizzle. A sizzling sound like oil dripping from grilled meat came from the bottom of the brazier, and gradually, more and more rocks began to become redder and softer. Suddenly, Grindelwald moved. He stretched out his right hand and drew a semicircle behind himself. A 1-meter-high ice wall appeared behind him and half surrounded him. Dumbledore's mouth twitched, and he waved his wand to create an ice deck for himself, which was bigger and thicker than Grindelwald's. Snort! Grindelwald snorted coldly and waved his hand again. The rocks on the ground suddenly rose from the ground, drew an arc and flew over the brazier, forming a bridge above the brazier. Raising an eyebrow at Dumbledore provocatively, Grindelwald stepped onto the stone bridge and headed upwards. Dumbledore also snorted coldly, waved his wand to create a stone bridge, and walked up as well. Standing on the stone bridge is like standing on a boiler. If it were an ordinary person, he would probably be roasted quickly, but Grindelwald and Dumbledore are not ordinary people. Walking in the flames, Grindelwald waved his fingers as he walked, as graceful as a conductor walking in a symphony orchestra. The flames seemed to be following the rhythm of his command, not only moving away from his surroundings, but also gathering towards Dumbledore. Dumbledore's face was calm, and he kept waving the wand in his hand in a small range. A vortex of fire slowly rotated under the bridge, sucking in all the surrounding flames. Almost at the same time, the two men walked to the midpoint where the two bridges intersected. They stared at each other in the flames. No one spoke, and no one backed down. The two looked at each other for a long time. Finally, Grindelwald slowly said, "In this environment, you don't want to beat me." "Why not?" Dumbledore replied. "You don't think I've forgotten all my magic after not practicing it for so many years? Or?" Grindelwald glanced at the wand in Dumbledore's hand. "Do you think that the Elder Wand can make up for the gap between you and me in fire magic?" "Fire magic? I never thought that your move was fire magic. In fact, I have always been curious whether that move of yours is dark magic," Dumbledore said. He. "Well, I'll let you see it for yourself today." Grindelwald raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Fire shield protection, boom. The flames below suddenly erupted and rushed towards Grindelwald, and halfway through the rush, the color of the flames suddenly changed to blue and white. These blue-white flames wrapped around Grindelwald's body to form an almost tangible shield, and then more flames gathered into huge fire phoenixes that flapped their wings and soared above Grindelwald. Dumbledore narrowed his eyes and did not rush to take action. He was observing and silently feeling this strange fire. Until 7 fire phoenixes made of blue and white flames appeared behind Grindelwald, until all the flames below were assimilated into blue and white flames by Grindelwald, until Grindelwald's move was brought to its peak, Dumbledore moved. Swoosh! As a loud cry came out of Dumbledore's mouth, a large ball of fire suddenly burned above his head, and then a phoenix with gorgeous feathers flew out from the flames. As soon as this phoenix appeared, it demonstrated extraordinary abilities. Flames were emitted every time it flapped its wings, and the surrounding blue and white flames seemed to be flying towards it. "Gellert, let me see if you can block my attack in this environment." As he spoke, Dumbledore raised his wand high above his head and slowly rotated it. At the same time, the Phoenix Fox also rotated closely following the rotation of Dumbledore's wand. Orange-red flames emerged from Fox's body and spun along with the Elder Wand. The surrounding blue-white flames also surged towards the Elder Wand like a tide and spun along with it. Grindelwald looked solemn, but did not try to stop him, just as Dumbledore did not stop him just now. Until a huge and terrifying vortex of 2 kinds of flames appeared above Dumbledore's head, until Dumbledore's hands turned slower and slower, and even a trace of effort appeared on his face, Grindelwald still did not make a move. He knew that this was not Dumbledore's limit. Sure enough, just like breaking through a certain limit in a middle-distance race, Dumbledore shouted and his arm waving his wand sped up again. At the same time, the Fire Phoenix also let out a loud cry, as if it had also broken through a limit. More flames emerged from its body and merged into the growing vortex of fire below. After spinning 5 more times in one breath, Dumbledore paused and looked at Grindelwald, and Grindelwald also raised his hand and looked at Dumbledore. As if there was a strange tacit understanding, after the two looked at each other for 3 seconds, they both swung at each other with force at the same time. The God of Fire leads the way. Fire Shield Protection. The huge vortex of flames and the 7 blue fire phoenixes rushed towards each other at the same time. When there was only 10 meters between the two, suddenly, the vortex of flames turned into 2 red and blue fire pillars that entangled with each other but did not intersect. At the same time, the 7 blue fire phoenixes collided with each other and condensed into a smaller but more powerful blue fire phoenix. The two attacks, revealing their true forms, continued to rush towards each other. Just when the winner was about to be announced, suddenly whoosh bang. Boom. Ah. Hot 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 hot. Chapter 128. Where did this guy come from? Seeing Remy dancing and snoring in the air, Dumbledore and Grindelwald's first reaction was not to stop, but to wonder how Remy suddenly appeared among them. After all, looking at him now, it doesn't look like he's going to die at any time. Almost at the same time, they both lowered their heads to look towards one side of the brazier, and saw a bright hole running through the mountain. Through the hole, they could see the lake in the distance. So it came from here. Wait, how did this guy crash through such a thick mountain and fly up? Just when Dumbledore was about to ask Grindelwald and him to stop and find Remy to ask for clarification, suddenly, Remy in the middle stopped shouting "It's hot" and started shouting something else. Oh my god! The color of the flame is so cool. Coach, I want to learn this. Remy shouted. I'm a professor, not a coach. Grindelwald glared at Remy and said unhappily. He finally had the chance to compete with Dumbledore with the advantage of terrain, and there was even a high chance that he could avenge his previous defeat. But in the end, everything was messed up by Remy. It would be strange if Grindelwald was happy. Okay Professor, when can you teach me this move? I love it. Remy asked. Wait until your next life. After saying that, Grindelwald looked at Dumbledore opposite him. After they exchanged glances, they stopped at the same time. The blue fire phoenix instantly disintegrated into balls of flames, and then the sea of fire was split into two. Remy, who was still wondering what he had done to make Grindelwald angry and make her say such a thing, suddenly fell down because he lost his support. The feeling of falling suddenly woke Remy up. Oh my god! Save me! There's a sea of fire below! Remy shouted. Dumbledore rolled his eyes and waved his wand. At this moment, Grindelwald suddenly waved his hand. There was a sudden bang in the air, and Remy continued to fall. Facing Dumbledore's puzzled look, Grindelwald snorted, how can we not punish him for setting fire to the mountain? Dumbledore thought for a moment before nodding and putting away his wand. Blanche? Remy made an international friendly gesture to Grindelwald, and immediately let out another scream as he fell into the sea of fire. Oh my god! Why is there magma here? I'm dying, I can't climb up. Barbecue! Pull me up! Hey, can you hear me? The lava is almost up to my thighs. Oh my god! It's at my waist. Pull me up quickly. Ignoring Remy's full-throated shouts without any panic in them, Grindelwald waved his hand to move the surrounding blue flames away from the stone bridge, then stretched out his hand and tapped twice in the direction of Hogwarts Castle. Here comes the teapot. Teacup is flying. Whoosh! The teapot and teacup flew into Grindelwald's hands at an extremely fast speed, and then Grindelwald used transfiguration to create 2 chairs and a table on the stone bridge. The scenery here is quite nice, why don't we have some tea together? Grindelwald extended his hand to invite. Dumbledore hesitated for a second before agreeing readily. He was very tired and really needed some tea and a rest. Even if Remy hadn't appeared just now, even if I could have broken that attack, I would have been exhausted, but you still had the strength to continue using magic. In this environment, you are indeed stronger. Dumbledore said. Stop flattering me. Grindelwald's expression softened a little before he continued, we must teach this little fellow a lesson today, lest he one day go lawless and cause a hole in the Ministry of Magic. Then you, as the headmaster, will be in trouble. Dumbledore pursed his lips, hesitated for a moment and finally decided not to tell Grindelwald the truth. In fact, Remy had already blown up the Ministry of Magic once. They continued to drink tea and chat, but Dumbledore's mind was obviously not on the conversation, his attention was always below. Remy's voice was gone, but he could still feel the extremely unique and terrifying magic power in Remy. Even though there is magic power everywhere below at this moment, Remy's magic power is still as dazzling as the bright moon with few stars. He knew that Remy was still not in danger of death, but he was worried that Remy would resent them for their immoral behavior. Well, Dumbledore was well aware of how immoral their behavior was at the moment. But it was Grindelwald who caused all this, and looking at Grindelwald's expression, he didn't seem to be ready to stop now. Seeing Dumbledore absent-mindedly, as if he wanted to say something but hesitated, Grindelwald shook his head helplessly. Don't worry. This little guy's character is not as bad as you think. Don't treat him as a child, or even as a mentally normal adult. Grindelwald said calmly, maybe he is having fun down there now. I hope you are right, sigh. Dumbledore sighed and raised his teacup to toast Grindelwald. At the same time, at the bottom of the brazier, Remy was not having as much fun as Grindelwald had expected. He was, drooling. You haven't been burnt yet, are you waiting for me? Then I won't be polite. Looking at the dragon egg completely wrapped in flames less than 3 meters in front of him, Remy wiped the saliva that was flowing down uncontrollably and hurriedly tried to find a way to get closer. At this moment, his chest and below were completely submerged in the magma, and the dragon egg, perhaps because it was an egg, was able to float on the magma. I didn't expect lava to be so sticky. It's much stickier than melted chocolate. Let me think. Got it. Water plus magma equals obsidian. Yes. That's it. He raised his hand and used alchemy to create a large amount of water. There was a sizzling sound all around him, and large clouds of water vapor rushed up from the bottom to the two old men who were drinking tea above. I told him he wouldn't behave himself down there. Look, isn't he fighting back now? Rolling his eyes, Grindelwald waved his hand and a wall of wind suddenly appeared around the two of them, protecting them inside and preventing them from being steamed by the steam. Dumbledore nodded, feeling that he had indeed been worrying for nothing. Well, let's see what tricks he can come up with, Dumbledore said. As soon as he finished speaking, Dumbledore and Grindelwald suddenly stood up at the same time. I saw the surrounding flames rushing downwards like crazy, forming a blue flame vortex in the blink of an eye. The brazier was like a huge funnel, and the flames turned into water, flowing along the direction of the vortex at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 10 seconds, all the flames disappeared. At the bottom of the brazier, Remy was sitting on the ground holding a large shiny black spoon, looking at the little fire dragon in front of him with a confused look on his face, which was burning with blue and white flames. Chapter 129. Where are my balls? How can my egg, which is so big, crack so easily? How come there is this little thing popping up? I wonder if it has been mutated by radiation? Although the wings, tail, and head are all burning with flames, which looks quite rare, but these two lively big eyes are a bit hard to eat. Just when Remy was feeling pain in his cracked TS, the little Charmander, who was rubbing against Remy's legs and babbling, suddenly raised his head, and a hint of dissatisfaction and grievance was revealed in his two big eyes. It's just like a kitten that has failed to be petted by its owner, but it is much more ferocious than a kitten. It roared twice in a childish voice, spewed out a lot of blue sparks, took a deep breath, and then, boom! A flame thicker than Charmander's body instantly covered Remy's face. After the fire, Remy came back to his senses and his face suddenly darkened. MMP. You little BD, I was almost deceived by your appearance. You dared to spit at me just after you were born. What will happen when you grow up? Build a fire. We must build a fire. As he yelled, the big black spoon in Remy's hand transformed into a black grill. Under the surprised gaze of Grindelwald and Dumbledore, who had just landed, Remy took out a piece of wire from somewhere and skillfully tied the Charmander to the barbecue grill. Strangely enough, although its wings, tail, and head were all burning with flames, the flames did not damage the grill, and even the iron wire was not burned red. Thunder! Dumbledore was about to say something, but Grindelwald held out his hand to stop him. Grindelwald shook his head slightly at Dumbledore, signaling him not to rush into intervening. Under the watchful eyes of the two old men, Remy lit a fire, holding a knife in one hand and a fork in the other, staring intently at the small fire dragon on the grill. The little fire dragon tied to the barbecue grill didn't seem to be afraid at all. Not only that, it was twisting its body and making babbling sounds, and one could even feel that it was very happy at the moment from the sound. Suddenly, Charmander stretched his head toward the flames below and sniffed hard. Just like a dragon sucking water, all the flames were sucked into the little fire dragon's mouth. Then, boom! Ha 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 ha, this little thing really doesn't know what fear is. Almost the same as Remy. Grindelwald laughed heartily and raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Don't compare me with this idiot. If someone tied me to the barbecue grill, I would definitely roast that person. Remy turned around and said unhappily. Isn't this a coincidence? Didn't it just roast you with fire? Grindelwald smiled slightly and controlled the untied little dragon to fly towards him. Oh my! As he was getting closer and closer to Grindelwald, the Charmander suddenly let out a sharp cry. Oh, look at this little guy, it's so charming. Especially this gorgeous flame, so mysterious and noble, it makes people unable to help but be attracted by it. Boom! A flame even bigger than the one that just hit Remy instantly swept over Grindelwald's body and even affected Dumbledore, who was standing beside him. Fascinated. Grindelwald smiled and lifted up the little dragon in his hands, completely ignoring the fact that it was still breathing fire at him. Next to him, Dumbledore used his wand to control the flames to gather into a ball in front of his eyes, frowning. After a moment's thought, Dumbledore touched the flame with a finger. Not hot at all? Not even feeling anything at all? Subconsciously, Dumbledore looked at Grindelwald, only to find that Grindelwald was playing with the dragon in his palm with great joy. After another moment of thought, Dumbledore closed his eyes and took a deep breath before reaching his hand toward the flames once more. Before Dumbledore could touch the flame, Grindelwald spoke. "Don't try it. Its flame will only burn those who have evil thoughts towards it." Grindelwald continued to tease the little dragon and said, "I just don't know if this little guy can change the characteristics of this flame like me, and turn it into a fire of evil spirits that burns people without evil thoughts." At this time, the little dragon lying on Grindelwald's palm no longer showed any fear, and was chasing Grindelwald's other hand to bite it. "You're not trying to teach it?" Dumbledore asked. Teaching a dragon? I've never tried it before," Grindelwald said with a smile, "but it's something I can consider. You have the phoenix, so it would be nice if I could have a Charmander that is so special and a perfect match for me. Remy, how about giving it to me?" Grindelwald looked at Remy and asked. "Not good." Remy immediately refused. "I still remember your ugly faces just now. Remy, although the transformation of this little fellow is closely related to you, the fire on its body obviously comes from Professor Grindelwald. And the Ministry of Magic will definitely not agree to you raising it. Even Professor Grindelwald will find it difficult to convince the Ministry of Magic. I can eat it. The Ministry of Magic hasn't banned students from eating dragon meat, has it?" Dumbledore choked for a moment, causing Grindelwald beside him to laugh. "Albus, do you really not understand Remy, or are you too embarrassed to do that?" Grindelwald laughed and said, "I will use my fire shield to protect me in exchange for the custody of this little guy, and you will keep today's events and the existence of this little guy a secret. How about that? Fire shield protection? Is that the Grindelwald gas stove trick that Grindelwald just used?" Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Grindelwald gas stove, this magic trick is cool, has a wide range and is powerful. Remy has been coveting it for a long time, from the last life to this life." Even Remy went to great lengths to trick Grindelwald into coming to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. One of his purposes was to learn this magic from Grindelwald. "But, Professor Grindelwald, I have been taking good care of this little Charmander and watching it grow up since it was still an egg," said Remy. Grindelwald glanced at Remy. "So?" Remy turned his head, twisted his mouth, and squeezed out 3 words from between his teeth, "You have to pay more." "Ha ha ha ha, okay. Then I'll teach you another killing curse." "Gellert. Are you FG crazy? If you dare to teach him the killing curse, I will immediately expel you from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And lock you up in Nurmengard again." Dumbledore roared immediately. Grindelwald shrugged at Remy, "You see, it's not that I don't want to teach you, but our great headmaster Dumbledore won't let me." Dumbledore's face darkened, and he instantly realized that he had been tricked by Grindelwald. "I don't care. You have to teach me another advanced magic, otherwise I will go to the Ministry of Magic to expose myself tomorrow," Remy said. Explosion? The corner of Dumbledore's mouth twitched as bad memories were instantly brought back. Forget it, forget it. I'll teach you some advanced magic later, okay?" Dumbledore said helplessly. Chapter 130. The 3 elements of wilderness survival: food, water, and shelter. There is no food supply for the time being, but Remy is quite resistant to hunger, so there is no need to worry about it for the time being. As for water, there is a lake 100 meters away with plenty of water to satisfy your hunger. So Remy decided to build a shelter for himself first. If you want to do your work well, you must first sharpen your tools. Building a shelter is not an easy task and requires tools. This naturally did not pose a problem for Remy. He made several tools for himself, including a shovel, a pickaxe, an axe, an iron bucket and several torches. "Really? I've bred such an awesome, super rare pet, but it still can't offset the penalty. But it doesn't matter, I haven't had enough fun yet." Muttering to himself, Remy squatted on the ground, swung the shovel and pounded the ground in front of him. If a Muggle who has done the job saw this, he would definitely shake his head and sigh, "This is not how you use a shovel." But this is not the Muggle world, this is the magical world, and the shovel in Remy's hand is not an ordinary shovel but a magic shovel. As the shovel hit the ground, a square frame suddenly appeared on the ground with the landing point as the center, and as Remy continued to hit it, it became covered with cracks. When he knocked for the 5th time, with a puff, the 1 cubic meter of soil in front of him suddenly shrank into a 1 cubic centimeter cube. With a cheer, Remy jumped into the pit below, picked up the block and looked at it carefully. After hesitating for a moment, he injected a little magic power into the block to activate it. Bang! The small cube instantly returned to its original size and squeezed Remy tightly into the mud. The experiment was successful. Let's officially start. It's definitely impossible to dig through the earth in 7 days, but building an underground palace and digging a secret passage to Hogwarts Castle shouldn't be a problem. Get to work. Remy dug himself out of the ground, picked up a shovel and started working. It only takes 5 strokes each time to dig out a whole cubic meter of soil. Soon Remy has dug a 2x2x3 large pit in front of him. It was a standard pit, 2 meters long, 2 meters wide and 3 meters deep, with clear edges and corners and a cross-section as smooth as a mirror. Reality is really not like a game. The soil is still a bit soft. There is still a risk of landslide if we dig a hole directly. We have to keep digging. After digging another 10 meters down in one breath, Remy, who was a little tired, suddenly lost interest in digging, but did not want to give up the idea of building an underground palace. In desperation, Remy decided to cheat and make himself a small mini excavator. Well, the seat must be adjustable, and the body of the vehicle should be 1.5 meters wide, but it must be able to dig the soil in a 2x2 area in front at the same time. It also needs to be able to dig the soil below, so a telescopic structure has to be designed to prevent misaspiration. Oh, and we need to add the wall climbing function, otherwise it will be embarrassing if we can't get up after going down. It would be nice to add an automatic torch insertion function. There were so many of them that after Remy finished the design and saw the parts needed, he was immediately overwhelmed. There are too many functions to be manufactured in a short time. In desperation, Remy had to reluctantly delete and simplify various functions. After redesigning a plan and spending 2 full days on manufacturing, finally an excavator that can dig in a 2x2 range at the same time and automatically collect blocks was officially launched. The entire vehicle is 1.5 meters long, 1.3 meters wide and 1.5 meters high. Except for the drill part, the rest of the vehicle is a purely mechanical structure. The car is powered by magic crystals, has 0 emissions and is super environmentally friendly. After inserting a small flag with the words "Safe Production" on it at the back of the vehicle and putting on a safety helmet equipped with a searchlight, Remy took out a Z-shaped car key from his waist, inserted it into the keyhole and shook it twice. Accompanied by a series of clanging sounds, the excavator officially started. Opening the car door and entering the driver's cab, Remy solemnly fastened his seat belt, full of a sense of ceremony. Although this little shabby car doesn't even have a windshield and the main frame of the car is made entirely of wood, the sense of ceremony must be maximized. No matter how difficult the conditions are, the sense of ceremony cannot be lacking. It's time to start work. Another day filled with 70,000. Beep. First it honked the horn, then turned on the turn signal, and after another ritualistic but actually useless operation, this extremely strange-looking excavator officially started operation. Buzz. The 4 drills in front vibrated at the same time, and in just a moment, 4 cubic meters of soil were converted into 4 small cubes. As soon as the small cubes fell to the ground, they were swept into the storage box at the bottom of the car by several circular brooms rotating side by side below. This automatic collecting device was inspired by the cleaning vehicles of the Muggle world. Wow, such efficiency! That's why we say technology changes our lives. I am such a genius. Try the drill bit below to see if it works. Buzz. Bang! Ouch! Oh no! I forgot to add shock absorbers to this broken car. Never mind, it doesn't matter, as long as the car doesn't fall apart. Touching his head, Remy was suddenly glad that he was wearing a helmet, otherwise his head would have had an intimate contact with the roof of the car just now. If I remember correctly, the deepest mine in the world seems to be 3 kilometers or several kilometers deep. Muggles can dig that deep, so my underground palace must be deeper than that, right? Dig 5 kilometers first. Dig another 5 kilometers after the second phase of the project. After finalizing the construction plan, Remy started the excavator again. Bang! 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 They dug and stopped, then shook it, shaking Remy so much that his brains almost dropped into his stomach. At first, it descended about 1 meter per second, but later Remy thought it was too slow and the vibration was a bit uncomfortable, so he simply started the drill below, and the speed increased immediately. No, it's descending very fast. Until it fell into an underground river with a splash. Remy had to take out 2 blocks from a special storage box and install them on the roof to add some weight to the car to prevent both the car and people from being washed away by the river. After fixing the counterweight, as the excavator dropped to the bottom of the riverbed, Remy used the surrounding river water to start the excavator and continue digging downwards. After digging 3 meters downwards, Remy took out some more blocks and sealed the top with his backhand. To be on the safe side, Remy sealed the roof while digging downwards, and sealed more than 30 meters thick in one go. Hehe, now even if I don't go back to the hole on the ground, no one should be able to find me, right? Buzz. The excavator continued to work, and 1 man and 1 machine continued to descend in the dark vertical mine. He dug for an unknown amount of time, until Remy felt sleepy. Suddenly, he was awakened by a terrifying push. The next moment, he was immersed in a sea of red. Looking at the bright and sticky liquid that was carrying him upward, Remy could not help but remain silent. Remy. I seem to have dug too much. Chapter 131. Sizzle, sizzle. 5 minutes later, after being pushed all the way back to the dark river he had encountered before by the gushing magma, Remy finally confirmed that he had not dug up the legendary core of the earth as he had initially guessed, but had accidentally dug up a small piece of underground magma that looked like an underground dark river. I'm also losing my mind. The earth's core is at least several thousand kilometers. Even if I keep falling at the speed of free fall, I don't know how long it will take. I've only been digging for a while, so I shouldn't even have dug through the moho, right? Fortunately, we managed to protect the excavator at the last moment. Let's move to another place and continue digging. Taking out a map similar to the live map but with only 2 small dots, Remy first pushed it towards beeping for a distance and then dug a hole downwards again. Having learned from the previous lesson, Remy counted every time he moved down. After digging another 3,000 meters without considering how deep the top of his head was, Remy stopped descending and instead pushed eastward according to the map. After roughly estimating the distance by pushing the shaft forward for a few hundred meters, Remy drove back to where he had originally come down and began to expand the surrounding area with the vertical shaft as the center. It is very hot, more than 3,000 meters underground. Remy specially made a thermometer to check. Even though there is no trace of magma here, the temperature is still 5 degrees higher than the most common Lao Bai Gan on the market. Although this degree is not that degree, the numbers are universal. In this kind of environment, if an ordinary person were to be in such an environment, not to mention the lack of oxygen, the temperature alone would be enough to dry him out. Even Remy had to breathe oxygen and hold a large block of ice to continue construction work. Fortunately, his work efficiency, the excavator's work efficiency was high enough, and it took only a few minutes to dig out a huge underground space that was larger than 3 basketball courts. Several pillars were specially left for inserting torches. When the magic torches were lit, this place finally felt like a secret base. It's just a bit empty. Lay some special cooling floor tiles, put some animal bone style furniture in there, and replace the torches with green flames. Then it will be a perfect devil's cave. Wait, can I use this to trick that idiot Voldemort again? Evil energy, wonderful. Oh, and there's also the frozen throne of the filthy demon king. Look around to see if there are any high enough snow-capped mountains nearby. I'll come up with a series of tricks. I don't believe you won't fall for any of them. Many wonderful ideas came to Remy's mind like a fountain, and he continued to perfect this devil's cave with full enthusiasm. Since it's a devil's cave, it has to be classy. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to have only one living room? Haven't you noticed that in a dungeon you have to go through several rooms before you can see the final boss? We can talk about the mechanisms later. Let's dig out the rooms first. Dig out 13 of them first. 13 is not a good number in the wizarding world, it represents bad luck. If it wasn't too much trouble, Remy would even want to dig 6 sixes, which also represent bad luck. It is easy to dig just 1 stone chamber, but it is not easy to dig 13. They were busy for an unknown amount of time, digging all the way towards Hogwarts Castle. When the 13th and smallest stone chamber was excavated, Remy began to push forward towards Hogwarts Castle. We pushed all the way to the bottom of Hogwarts Castle, but the next step became difficult. According to Remy's plan, we needed to dig a spiral upward passage. Although the car was designed with a stair climbing function at the beginning, Remy designed a mechanical structure to take shortcuts. The stair climbing speed is very slow and the driving feel is very bad. In order to make the stairs more convenient to walk on and to make it easier for the car to climb the slope, Remy specially added 2 drill bits to the car 15 centimeters from the ground, and used them to flatten the 1-meter-high steps. However, even so, after persisting for about half an hour, Remy, who could no longer bear the boring operation of constant turning, started to cheat again and designed an automatic driving function for the excavator. True autonomous driving is undoubtedly very complicated, but if it is just a few simple and repetitive processes, it will be much simpler, similar to a certain button script often used in playing games. The design was to turn 90 degrees every 6 meters of digging. After experimenting and making sure there was no problem, Remy laid the seat back flat and lay down flat. This reclining function is not a new addition, but was designed by the foresight Remy from the beginning. You know what, when I was sitting in the car, it felt quite bumpy when climbing the stairs, but after lying down, it had a hypnotic effect like a rocking chair, and Remy fell asleep after lying down for a while. Principal Dumbledore, I still can't find Remy. Hagrid, didn't I tell you the day before yesterday? If you can't find it, don't look for it. How can that be possible? I was the one who brought Remy into the Forbidden Forest. What if he encountered any danger in the Forbidden Forest? Weevoo, he has been missing for half a month. He must have been in danger, Weevoo. Looking at Hagrid, who was blaming himself so much that he was crying, Dumbledore felt helpless. Although he was worried about Remy's disappearance in the Forbidden Forest for half a month, he was not worried about Remy's safety, but the safety of other creatures. Even the safety of other non-living things. But Hagrid, with his stubborn mind, completely ignored his words of comfort and insisted that Remy was still too young to handle any dangerous emergencies. Okay, Hagrid, remember I told you that I saw him in the Forbidden Forest on the day he entered? I was the last person to see him. Do you think Remy's disappearance has anything to do with me? Dumbledore asked. How is it possible? How could Remy's disappearance be related to you? Who said that? I'm going to tear his mouth apart right now. Hagrid said angrily. Well. Dumbledore slapped his forehead helplessly, that's not what I meant. What I meant was that Remy wasn't missing, but I asked him to go. Well, Hagrid, I'm sorry, there are some things I can't tell you now. Hagrid's eyes widened. Ah? What do you mean? Oh, God, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have. I didn't affect your plan, did I? Not yet, but that may not be the case if you continue going deeper into the Forbidden Forest. Dumbledore said, lowering his head slightly. Yes. I will never go to the Forbidden Forest again. Oh, I promise you, I will never tell this to anyone, said Hagrid. It would be strange if you didn't tell others with your leaky mouth, but it's just a fabrication anyway. Dumbledore nodded, thinking that it was easiest to solve some problems using some unethical methods. Just as Dumbledore was about to act out the whole thing and say a few more words, suddenly, the office door opened. Professor Snape walked into the office with Remy in his hand with a gloomy face and threw him to the ground. Principal Dumbledore, Remy was caught breaking into the Slytherin girls' dormitory. Dumbledore. Hagrid, Headmaster Dumbledore, is this part of your plan? Chapter 132. Facing Headmaster Dumbledore's complicated, almost twisted gaze, Remy quickly raised his hands. It's unfair. I was arrested without seeing anything. It's an attempted crime at best, said Remy. Dumbledore's eye twitched. Is this the point? Tell me. Where have you been for the past half-month? Dumbledore asked. I haven't been going anywhere. I've been staying in the Forbidden Forest and accepting my punishment. Remy replied. In the Forbidden Forest? Then why didn't Hagrid find you after looking for you so many times? Dumbledore continued to ask. Oh, maybe it's because I've been underground all the time. Remy replied. Underground? The three of them were stunned at the same time. What were you doing underground in the Forbidden Forest? Dumbledore asked in confusion. Before Remy could answer, Professor Snape's face suddenly changed, and he squatted down and stared at Remy. The hole you dug under the girls' dormitory leads to the Forbidden Forest. Professor Snape asked. What do you mean by leading to the Forbidden Forest? I was just digging from the Forbidden Forest towards the castle, and then I accidentally dug into the dormitory. I really didn't mean to do that. Principal Dumbledore, you know me well. I never do anything sneaky when it comes to looking at girls. If I really wanted to see girls, I would definitely break in directly and would not dig. Hey? Professor Snape, where are you going? Seeing Snape suddenly stand up and leave, Remy was full of question marks. Just as Remy was about to ask Headmaster Dumbledore, who knew Professor Snape better, if he knew what was going on, Professor Snape, who had already opened the door to leave, turned around and gave an explanation himself. "I'll come back to settle the score with you after I finish dealing with the dormitory passage, Mr. Barrett," Snape said. "Well." Remy raised his hand, but finally put it down after thinking for a while. Noticing Remy's abnormality, Dumbledore narrowed his eyes. "Professor Snape is worried that some students will enter the Forbidden Forest through that passage. Did you want to say something to Professor Snape just now?" Dumbledore asked. Well, it doesn't hurt to tell you." Remy hesitated for a moment and raised his head. "I found a mine down there." "Mine? What mine?" "Gold mine." "Gold mine?" Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, then looked at Remy with something strange in his eyes. "No matter how you think about it, it's impossible to find a gold mine by just digging a few meters downwards, right?" "How many meters did you dig?" Dumbledore asked. "About, maybe, 1 or 2,000 meters, puff." Hagrid, who had been drinking tea far away just now, seemed to be avoiding suspicion, but suddenly spat out a big mouthful of tea. "Ahem, don't mind me, I just choked, I didn't hear anything," said Hagrid. Glancing helplessly at Hagrid, Dumbledore turned back and fell into deep thought. After thinking for a moment, Dumbledore took a piece of parchment and spread it out in front of him, then picked up the quill. "How big is the mine?" asked Dumbledore. "It's unclear at the moment, and they are all raw ore," Remy said. "Nonsense! If the gold mine does not contain raw ore, could it be that it contains refined gold? If it is refined gold, can it still be called a gold mine? Then the sweet one must be called a gold vault. The reserves are unclear, right? But can you be sure it is gold and not copper? Or is it some other ordinary stone but with a special color?" Dumbledore asked. "Come on, I'm an alchemist. How can I not tell which is gold ore and which is copper ore? Do you believe that I can use copper ore to refine and process it into real galleons?" Remy said. "Dumbledore. It's a good bet, but I refuse to accept it. You'd better just keep quiet." After writing quickly on the parchment, Dumbledore took out his wand and copied the text on the parchment onto several other pieces of parchment, which he then put into envelopes one by one. "This matter is a little special. I must inform the school board," Dumbledore explained after noticing Remy's puzzled look. When Remy heard that Dumbledore was going to tell the board of directors about this, he suddenly became anxious. "Why? That's the gold mine I found. It's mine." Remy jumped up and down. "First of all the property within the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, including the underground property, belongs to the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, not to any one individual," Headmaster Dumbledore said, pushing up his glasses. "Secondly, the school board only has the power to supervise and appoint and dismiss me as the principal. They have no power to deal with school property." "Oh, so the gold mine belongs to the school? I can accept that." Remy nodded and said, "When we have money, we can renovate this broken castle and expand it into phases 2, 3, and 4. Make it bigger and stronger, and create greater glory." Headmaster Dumbledore smiled and shook his head. "There are not so many little wizards in this world who need to go to school. Currently, Hogwarts Castle is large enough to accommodate them." At this moment, his eyes were full of relief when he looked at Remy. He was relieved by Remy's broad mind that did not care about the personal ownership of the gold mine. Putting himself in Remy's shoes, Dumbledore even felt that even if he found a gold mine now, he probably wouldn't be able to be as free and easy as Remy and let it go as easily as he said. This feeling of relief lasted for a full second, and after a second Dumbledore suddenly remembered who Remy's teacher was. As Nicholas Flamel's apprentice, it seems normal that Remy doesn't care about the gold mine. After all, he can produce gold himself, and it is pure gold. After packing the letters and handing all of them to Fawkes, Dumbledore stood up and walked over to Remy and patted him on the shoulder. "Come on, take me to see the gold mine you mentioned," said Dumbledore. "Okay, no problem." "Ahem, Principal Dumbledore, Oh, Hagrid, I almost forgot about you." Dumbledore turned his head and looked Hagrid up and down, looking a little embarrassed. "Hagrid, it's not that I don't want to take you, it's just that your physique." No, I don't want to go with you. I just want to say that I can leave now. Now that Remy is back safely, I feel relieved," Hagrid said hurriedly. Of course you can, said Dumbledore. Hagrid, thank you for your concern, and I'm sorry to have made you worried. Remy said suddenly. Oh, it's okay, it's my duty. After all, I was the one who brought you into the Forbidden Forest. Hagrid scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Remy pursed her lips and didn't know what to say to Hagrid for a moment, so she could only smile and nod. After watching the big man Hagrid leave, Remy and Dumbledore also walked out of the headmaster's office and headed towards the Slytherin College dormitory building. On the way, he ran into Snape, who was walking in a hurry. After a brief explanation from Headmaster Dumbledore, Professor Snape nodded with a slight surprise and went to find Professor McGonagall. They wanted to go together to see the gold mine that Remy mentioned. Chapter 133. What happened? What was Dean Snape doing in the girls' dormitory just now? I heard that Dean Snape caught a male student who broke into the girls' dormitory. Is this true? I'm so envious, ahem, I mean it's so abominable. Not only that, I also heard that the male student dug a tunnel into the girls' dormitory. And he's from Gryffindor. What? That's abominable. Another one from the Lion Court? The people in the Lion Court are really abominable. That's right. I've never been to the girls' dormitory in our college. Why should he? That's not right. Why did I hear that the person taken away by Dean Snape was a person wearing the uniform of Ravenclaw Academy? From Ravenclaw House? Impossible. Aren't all Ravenclaws a bunch of nerds? Exactly. Besides, aren't there more female students in Ravenclaw College than in Slytherin College? And they're prettier. Ahem, pay attention, don't you want to find a girlfriend? What are you afraid of? At worst I'll just go find someone from Ravenclaw Academy later. Tisk. You can't even woo the girls from this academy, yet you're thinking of wooing girls from other academies. What you said is wrong. I just heard from my girlfriend that the person who was caught was the troublemaker named Remy, the one who pranked Malfoy and was criticized by the whole school and thrown into the Forbidden Forest. Oh, it's him. Isn't he from Gryffindor? As expected, none of the students in Gryffindor are good. SHH. Look, the dean and the principal are here. The one called Remy has also been brought here. Stop talking nonsense and don't bring shame to Slytherin House. Hello, Dean. Hello, Principal. Hello, Principal. Hello, Dean. Dumbledore seemed to be in a good mood and kept nodding to the students around him who greeted him. Professor Snape seemed to be in a good mood as well. Although he had a stern face, if you looked closely you could see that the corners of his mouth were clearly rising. Remy, who was walking behind Dumbledore, was in a bad mood. He felt like there was a thorn in his back, a lump in his throat, as if he was blocked and walking on fire and water, all because of the gaze from Professor McGonagall behind him. Listening to the discussions around him and the strange, mocking and contemptuous looks, Professor McGonagall's face turned darker than the bottom of a pot. Although those discussions were not directed at her, and those glances were not directed at her, she was the headmaster of Gryffindor House. The most important thing is, it was clearly Remy who caused the trouble, and Remy was transferred to Ravenclaw. Why should we Gryffindors be held responsible for what Remy caused? That doesn't make sense. Professor McGonagall, who felt extremely aggrieved, lowered his head and stared at Remy. After entering the girls' dormitory, he finally couldn't help but explode. Student Remy, although you are no longer a student of Gryffindor College, I am not only the headmaster of Gryffindor College, but also the vice-headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I will be solely responsible for the handling of your trespassing into the Slytherin College girls' dormitory. After speaking to Remy, Professor McGonagall glanced coldly at Dumbledore and Snape. Do you have any objections? Dumbledore smiled and nodded, then gave Remy a look that Remy thought meant you're on your own. Professor Snape hesitated for a moment and then raised his head. Dean McGonagall, this incident happened in Slytherin College, so I'll handle it. I will definitely give you a satisfactory result. After saying that, Professor Snape glanced at Remy meaningfully. There was so much tenderness in his eyes, like a silent spring breeze that melted the ice and snow, which frightened Remy so much that his anus tightened. Remy had seen this look before, not long ago, when Snape was using him, to test the drug. Professor McGonagall, I have committed a heinous crime and I plead guilty to the crime. I support you in handling me. Remy said hurriedly, looking at Professor McGonagall. Remy's attitude immediately confused Professor McGonagall, and he even felt a little ashamed. He was still a child. He didn't mean it. And those words were neither his nor what he asked or guided those people to say. And such a good attitude in admitting mistakes. How could I blame Remy for the inherent prejudice of Slytherin students against Gryffindor? Even if there was no Remy incident, I am afraid that Slytherin students would also slander Gryffindor for other reasons, right? Coming back to his senses, Professor McGonagall let out a long breath, nodded to Remy with a complicated expression, and then looked at Professor Snape. You are right. This incident happened in Slytherin College. You should handle it. I will not interfere. Professor McGonagall said. Remy. WTF. Hey, hey, hey. Professor McGonagall. Please hold on a little longer. Headmaster Dumbledore, Headmaster, you. Okay, put your little things aside for now and get down to business, Dumbledore interrupted. Remy. Blanche. Is it a small matter for me to break into the girls' dormitory? Is the gold mine the real business? I never thought that you, a guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes, are actually a money grubber. It's really not a big deal. They had just returned from get out of class when you showed up. Apart from the bad influence, the actual damage is probably just the hole in the floor. Snape patted Remy's shoulder and said. Obviously, it sounded like words of comfort to tell people not to be afraid, but when these words came out of Professor Snape's mouth, Remy shuddered immediately. Next to them, Headmaster Dumbledore saw the three people discussing and walked over to the excavator curiously to study it. What is this? The machine you use to dig underground? Dumbledore asked, touching the drill in front of him. Yes. It's an interesting invention. How efficient is it? It's okay. The excavation speed is quite fast when running at full power. Well, then let's take them together. What? Maybe we can find another mine nearby? Haha, what do you think? Blanche? You're a money grubber. Remy rolled his eyes and was about to go over to start the excavator, but found that Headmaster Dumbledore just snapped his fingers and made the excavator float in the air. Seeing this, Remy shrugged and walked towards the passage on the ground. Just as Remy was about to lift up the half-fallen bed, he felt his hand lighten. Turning around, he saw Professor Snape waving his wand to move the bed. Noticing Remy's gaze, Professor Snape smiled at Remy. With this smile, the world suddenly lost its color. Remy's face changed drastically and he hurried into the passage. He didn't know what was wrong with Snape today. He just felt that Snape was very abnormal today, and he was worried about his future. Chapter 134. At first no one paid any attention and just stepped into a spiral downward passage. The flat walls and stairs were no different from other passages in Hogwarts Castle, no, they were much simpler. The interior of Hogwarts Castle was all solid marble, or at the very least blue stone, but here it was just dirt and no lighting. But as they walked, even the dumbest person would notice that something was wrong. This passage was dug by one person. How is it possible that one person dug from the Forbidden Forest to Hogwarts Castle in 3 weeks, and even had time to repair the passage? Even wizards don't have this ability, right? Unable to help but, the three of them glanced at the excavator being brought down from time to time, including Headmaster Dumbledore himself. As time went by and as the investigation continued, Professor McGonagall finally couldn't bear it anymore. Remy, how deep did you dig? Professor McGonagall asked. Not sure. I haven't made any instrument that can measure depth, Remy replied. So, what exactly is the function of this vehicle? Can it dig and repair the passage at the same time? Asked Professor McGonagall. It's almost like that. Actually it can't be considered a renovation, it's just dug out and it's like this. Remy said. After getting an answer that was not an answer, Professor McGonagall suddenly became even more curious. However, since Dumbledore hadn't said anything, she couldn't suggest giving it a try now, so she could only continue walking down, silently estimating the depth. Continue walking downwards, and the surrounding environment gradually becomes rocky, and occasionally you can see some shiny minerals on the stone walls. At first Professor McGonagall thought it was some kind of gem, but after careful observation he was disappointed to find that it was just some quartz. We descended more than 100 meters in one breath, and after turning a corner, the view in front of us suddenly opened up. Cave, an underground cave, a cave of gems shining everywhere. No, it is the colorful and brilliant light that is reflected under the illumination spell. Oh my god! Professor McGonagall exclaimed and hurried forward with a lighting spell in hand. These these are crystals. So many! Professor McGonagall exclaimed. Not to mention Professor McGonagall, even Snape and Dumbledore couldn't help but be attracted. It's just that I don't know whether they were attracted by the gorgeous crystals themselves, or were calculating their value. Ah, they are all crystals, but the quality is not very good, and there are very few pure ones. Remy said, come with me, there is a smaller crystal mine below, but the quality of the crystals there is much higher than here. Didn't you say that only gold was found? Dumbledore asked. Gold mine? You found a gold mine? Professor McGonagall asked excitedly, that's great. Now we can finally afford to replace the old training brooms in the school that are about to fall apart with new ones. Wow, it turns out that Professor McGonagall is also a money grubber? He even thought about how to spend the money. But, excuse me for asking, is Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry short of money? I never noticed it before. Remy asked curiously. He originally wanted to ask Professor McGonagall, but what Remy didn't expect was that the first person to open his mouth to answer his questions was Professor Snape. It's lacking, but not too much. Professor Snape said as he observed a large crystal column. The school board and the Ministry of Magic donate a sum of money to the school every year. It's enough, but there's not too much left. The school directors also give money? No wonder Principal Dumbledore is so respectful to the directors. I originally thought it was just because they had the power to appoint and dismiss the principal, but it turns out they are also the financial sponsors of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. That's what I was wondering. I used to be curious about how Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry managed to operate without charging tuition. It turns out that it relies on funding from the Ministry of Magic and donations from the school board. Remy said with sudden enlightenment. Not entirely. The school itself has some industries of its own, such as Professor Sprout's plantation and some magical materials in the Forbidden Forest, said Headmaster Dumbledore. Oh. Principal, the two examples you cited should be the entire industry of the school, right? Remy asked. Dumbledore froze, but continued walking forward without saying anything. Remy knew what was going on after noticing Headmaster Dumbledore's reaction. It seems that the school's financial situation has not been very good. Have you ever thought about applying for more teaching funds? Remy continued to ask. Why haven't you thought about it? It's just that we are not very good at this, and the economic situation of the entire wizarding world is not very good. No, to be precise, it is relatively more stable. Remy interrupted. Oh, yes, it is relatively stable. Professor McGonagall said, just like in school, sometimes we feel that we need to buy a lot of things, but when we think about it carefully, it seems that nothing is necessary to buy. Remy nodded. I understand. This is the case with self-sufficient small-scale peasant economies. After necessities are met, there is not enough desire to buy other items. At the same time, there are not enough new products to stimulate consumption. Small peasant economy. Snape shook his head. We are not the farmers you are talking about, Mr. Barrett. We are wizards. Wizards only have magical powers that Muggles don't have, but what I'm talking about is the production method. Remy said, here we are. The crystals in this crystal mine are generally of good quality. I think we can buy a few crystal balls for the school first. Anyway, with the current market activity that is almost stagnant, it is likely that they will not be sold, so it is better to benefit ourselves first. Professor McGonagall did not answer. She was completely absorbed by the colorful and beautiful scenery before her. Red, grey, purple, yellow, pink. Unlike the mine behind him, which was full of colorless crystals that reflected colorful light, the crystals in the mine in front of him now had colors themselves. These are all rare crystals. And they are rare crystals of very high purity. There are also colorless and nearly transparent crystals here, which are perfect for making crystal balls. It's so beautiful. Dumbledore said as he stroked a piece of pink crystal, if possible, I really don't want to destroy this place. Its existence is more valuable than these crystals themselves. It is a priceless treasure. But I've already destroyed part of it. Remy touched his nose embarrassedly. I was sleeping when they dug it up, and when I woke up, but it's not a big problem, there's more below. Wait, Remy, how many mines did you find? Dumbledore asked in confusion, didn't you say before that you only found gold mines? When did I say I only found a gold mine? I said I found a gold mine, not just a gold mine. Remy said after rolling his eyes. After working so hard to dig a hole underground for so long, you only find a gold mine? Who are you looking down on? Chapter 135. With great anticipation, the three followed Remy and continued down along the passage in the crystal mine. The road after that is no longer as boring as before. You have to turn every certain distance, and sometimes you even need to walk up a distance. In the next 2 hours, the three men visited copper mines, tin mines, and a silver mine. However, the channels only pass through it, and no one knows the exact reserves. Walking in the crooked passages, the three of them felt that these passages were not dug randomly, but had a purpose, otherwise it would not make sense to encounter so many mines in such a small area. But they were too embarrassed to ask. After all, these mines are the school's property. Asking Remy now if he has any prospecting skills will always make people think that they are greedy. I feel like I can use apparition now, Snape said. Remy, stop it, said Dumbledore. Ah? We're almost at the gold mine. Remy said. No need. Dumbledore shook his head, we are out of the school. The gold mine belongs to you. We are not going there. Really? What a coincidence. We should be there in a few hundred meters. Remy said. It's quite a coincidence. Dumbledore smiled and pushed his glasses, it's enough. The silver mine alone is enough for the school. I hope the Ministry of Magic will not reduce its donations to the school in the future because of this, ha ha ha. You seem to be quite contented. I thought you would not give up until you got the gold mine. Remy said with a smile. What do you think I am? A money grubber? Dumbledore shook his head helplessly. Although I may not be as indifferent to money as you are, I don't take money too seriously either. Who said I don't care about money? I care about money the most, right? It's just that what I care about is money, money as currency, not these mines, said Remy. I know your shop in Diagon Alley. Making money by selling magic gloves is indeed more joyful than selling ore, and it can help many people in need. Dumbledore said. How much money can you make from magic gloves? Remy rolled his eyes and puffed out his chest. My dream is to become the biggest arms dealer in the magic world. Dumbledore. Snape. McGonagall. Let's talk about the gold mine. Just when the three of them were struggling with how to educate Remy, suddenly, there was a whoosh and a blue flame appeared in an instant and stopped in front of Snape who was at the back. Professor Snape shuddered with fear and raised his hand to perform his own original magic. God's sword has no shadow, whoosh. The flame was instantly cut into 6 pieces, but soon merged together and condensed into a human shape, and then the flame turned into Grindelwald. Professor Green. Professor McGonagall said, why are you here? I heard that Remy got into big trouble again, so I came here to join in the fun. But now it doesn't seem to be a big trouble. Those 2 crystal caves are really good. Grindelwald smiled. Reaching out and patting the shoulder of Snape who was looking at him in shock, Grindelwald walked over to Remy and said, why did you stop? Is there anything good behind this? There is one more gold mine, but there is nothing good after that. Remy said, I found that gold mine by accident and then decided to look for other mines on the way forward. The gold mine, it's not interesting. Are you planning to go back? Grindelwald asked. What do you want? Dumbledore asked. That little thing has been a little depressed lately. I asked Hagrid, and Hagrid said it might be because he was missing Remy. Grindelwald said. Little thing? Who? Oh, that guy. What does it want from me? Remy asked puzzledly. After all, you are the first creature it sees when it opens its eyes. It is not close to its mother at all now. It must think of you as its mother. Grindelwald said. Do you think I'm your mother? I am a man, okay. I don't take the blame for this. I don't have any special fetish for being a male mother. Remy said in a muffled voice. You want to treat me like I don't want you to be one yet. Albus, I'm going to take him back first. After I'm done with the little guy, I'll bring him directly to your office. After saying that, without waiting for Dumbledore to nod or Remy to agree, Grindelwald grabbed Remy's arm and turned into a ball of fire and flew away. Principal Dumbledore, who exactly is this senior? Snape asked. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses and said, an old friend, do you want to follow me to the front and have a look? I have a feeling that Remy is not just digging a tunnel, he must be up to something else. Now that you mention it, I also think there must be something fishy going on, said Professor McGonagall. Yeah, Snape said. Having reached a consensus, the three continued walking forward along the passage. After a while, the three of them arrived at what was suspected to be the gold mine that Remy mentioned. This place has been dug up in a mess, as if it had been gnawed by a dog, with pieces missing here and there. It can be seen that the people who dug the tunnel were probably not in a calm mood at the time. After carefully inspecting the stone wall and confirming that it was indeed a gold mine, the three did not stay for long, but continued forward along the passage. This time, they only advanced less than 100 meters before the road disappeared, replaced by a spiral passage leading to a deeper depth. It looks like Remy was dug up from here. It's already very deep here. How deep did he dig it from? Professor McGonagall asked puzzledly, and his eyes once again involuntarily looked at the excavator that Dumbledore had been leading. This excavator is definitely not simple. Even without going deeper, the distance they had walked was already very far. It was definitely a miracle that they could dig such a long passage in such a short time. Won't you know if you go down and take a look? With that, Dumbledore led the way into the passage. All the way down, all the way down. In the nearly infinite downward cycle, the temperature becomes higher and higher while the oxygen becomes less and less, making people walking in it feel so hypoxic that they feel dizzy and uncontrollably irritable. This is a good place to exercise, but unfortunately I can't walk to the end. Let's go back. Dumbledore said helplessly, holding on to the wall. Maybe it was because he was too old, but at the moment he was in the worst condition among the three. Dumbledore, the greatest wizard in the wizarding world, was defeated today, defeated by lack of oxygen. Well, let's apparate. Albus, do you need any help? Professor McGonagall asked. No need, you guys go away first, I'll go straight back to the office. After saying this, Dumbledore and the excavator disappeared at the same time. Snape and Professor McGonagall exchanged a glance, and both of them disappeared as well. About 2 minutes later, Dumbledore suddenly appeared in the passage again, but he appeared in the passage in front of the gold mining area. And also brought an excavator. Chapter 136. After making sure that there was no one around, Dumbledore floated the excavator in the air so that it did not touch the ground. He then reached out and pressed every button and pedal in the cab to study their functions. After a brief experiment, Dumbledore picked up the helmet on the chair and put it on himself, then bent down and sat in the car to start practicing. The narrow cab made it impossible for Dumbledore to straighten his back, but he didn't care. Instead, he smiled happily. Especially after the excavator is officially started. Go forward, go backward, turn. Just like an adult who becomes addicted to teaching his child to drive a toy car, Dumbledore had a lot of fun driving the excavator around in the deserted underground world. On the other side, Remy, who was taken away by Grindelwald, was taken away from the Slytherin dormitory area and then taken to the Slytherin secret room. But not through the abandoned girls' bathroom. Although the location has not changed, it is no longer a girls' bathroom, but has been converted into a defense against the dark arts classroom. According to Grindelwald, Myrtle was very unhappy about this at first and even came over to make a scene several times, but she finally compromised after he persuaded her with both emotion and reason. Remy didn't believe what Grindelwald said. If there really exists magic in this world that can deal with ghosts, then the person most likely to master this magic must be Grindelwald. Who made him the Dark Lord? Except for the room above, the passage into the Chamber of Secrets has not changed, but the way of entering has changed. Grindelwald prepared many flying brooms for students to use. It is said that he originally planned to open another flight combat training course, but it was rejected unanimously by all professors. Entering the first room in the secret room through the passage, it had already been cleaned out, and the animal bones that originally covered the floor had long disappeared. Not only were the animal bones gone, but the floor and walls were covered with tiles and gorgeous wool carpets, and there was an ornate crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. It was not an exaggeration to call it an auditorium. In the past, Remy might have simply thought that Grindelwald had good vision, but after learning from Headmaster Dumbledore that the financial situation of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was not good, Remy had to wonder if there was any abuse of power for personal gain. However, upon asking, I found out that the decoration here was actually built by Grindelwald himself. I wonder why Headmaster Dumbledore would agree to let you build this place so magnificently. It's almost like a palace. Remy said. The palace is much more magnificent than my place. This is the practical training ground for the defense against the dark arts class. There's nothing to see here. Come over here. I'm going to prepare. Gah. Gah, gah, gah. Before Grindelwald finished his introduction, a little fire dragon with blue flames burning on its stomach and almost as tall as a person came rushing over with a cackling sound. It quickly rushed to Remy, jumped up, threw Remy to the ground, and used a washing, hot and blowing method on Remy's head. I'm boiling. Flames flew everywhere, but neither the carpet nor Remy was burned. However, Remy rolled his eyes due to the pressure. Ha 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 ha, as expected, this little guy is missing you. Grindelwald said happily. I don't think so. Get out of my way. I'm almost crushed to death by you. Remy said while pushing hard. I don't know if it understood what Remy said or saw Remy's actions, but Charmander actually crawled to the side. Why is this guy crawling back and forth like a dog? Can't it fly? Remy couldn't help but ask as he looked at the Charmander circling around him. It can fly, but it can't fly for a long time yet. Hagrid said it should be able to in 2 months. Grindelwald said. Oh, what's it called? Remy asked. Hagrid and I both came up with several names, but after some thought, we decided that it would be better for you to name it. After all, you are its recognized mother, said Grindelwald. Forget it. Remy rolled his eyes. Where's its mother? Did you stew her? That's a wild dragon, and it has been sent to a protected area by Dumbledore's contact. Grindelwald said, do you really want to eat dragon meat? I can buy you some. I promise that you won't want to eat it a second time after you have tasted it once. No, I still prefer to hunt on my own. Patting Charmander's little head, Remy fell into thought. What should I name this little thing? Goozy? Fire baby? Hahwaki? When I think of Grindelwald and Dumbledore having a pet duel, Dumbledore yells come out, Phoenix Fox, while Grindelwald on the other side yells come out, Fire Dragon Goozy. The scene was really unbearable to watch. You should choose a more serious name, little guy. From now on, you will be called Endwing. Your name is, Endwing. Do you understand? Remy pulled the chin of the little dragon and asked, if you understand, nod your head. If you don't understand, I will stew you. The little dragon nodded repeatedly, then tilted its head and looked at Remy in confusion. No one knew what it was confused about. The Wings of the End? What a nice name. But your threats like that won't scare it. I always bathe it with boiling water. I'm afraid it will freeze if I use cold water. Grindelwald said. Remy. You are still so vigorous. By the way, I haven't finished introducing it to you just now. I plan to transform this place into a dueling club. What do you think? Grindelwald asked, waving at the Wings of End. Endwing looked at Remy, then at Grindelwald, and ran over happily. Duel club? That's great, but unfortunately I'm afraid I won't be able to join it. Remy asked very self-awarely. As expected, Grindelwald smiled and nodded, giving Remy an affirmative answer. There are only 2 results when fighting with others with Remy's strength, either the opponent is demolished, or the venue is demolished, or both may happen at the same time. Even if Remy swung his wand and used physical magic, it would only undermine the confidence of other students and would not have the positive meaning of a duel or competition. After playing with Endwing for a while and listening to Grindelwald talk about his ideas for renovating the secret room and his experience in raising dragons, the 2 left the secret room and came to the principal's office. Headmaster Dumbledore was not there, so Grindelwald entertained Remy as if he were at home. He not only poured tea for Remy, but also took out a lot of snacks and candies from the drawer of his desk. While eating, Grindelwald explained to Remy the magic he had promised Remy before, the Grindelwald gas stove. After waiting for more than an hour, the 2 finally saw Dumbledore. Only. Why are you all looking at me like that? There's dirt on my face. Raising his hand to wipe his face, Dumbledore's mouth suddenly twitched. I was careless. I was in such a hurry to get back that I forgot to take off my helmet. Chapter 137. Dumbledore knew he was exposed. He knew Remy must have known what he was doing. But he relied on his thick skin acquired over the years to act as if nothing had happened, casually took off his helmet and got down to business. First of all, the punishment for Remy. Although Remy discovered a lot of mines, it is an indisputable fact that he disappeared without reason and broke into the girls' dormitory. Merits are merits and faults are faults, and merits and faults cannot offset each other. However, the punishment was not severe, it was just a simple notice of criticism. For Remy, who had already been criticized by the whole school, it was just a drizzle. Not only did he accept it very happily, he was even very happy. Because it meant he wouldn't fall into the hands of that pervert Snape. Remy suspected that this was a hush money from Headmaster Dumbledore, so he didn't mention the helmet. After talking about the punishment, Dumbledore talked about Remy's reward, a commendation announced to the whole school. It still doesn't matter to Remy. After the punishments and rewards were arranged, Headmaster Dumbledore assigned Remy a few more tasks and let him leave. In the following days, Remy assisted the always grumpy Professor Snape to repair the hole in the girls' dormitory, and then dug a new passage leading to the surface. The exit of the passage is located at the foot of the mountain far away from the castle, very close to the road leading to the train station, making it convenient for transporting ore after mining. In addition, Remy also sealed the passages at both ends of his gold mine to prevent anyone from stealing. Although he didn't care much about the gold mines, he didn't like having his things stolen even more. After completing the tasks assigned by Headmaster Dumbledore, Remy's life gradually returned to normal. I go to classes every day, study and get private lessons from Grindelwald. In the remaining time, I either rest or work on my own little inventions. Occasionally, when I feel bored, I drive an excavator underground to do some expansion. In order to create a completely underground secret base, Remy even went to the Forbidden Forest to completely fill in the pit that had been dug before, and then designed 2 interconnected portals that could directly lead to the underground base. With the portal in front of him, Remy decided to abandon the original idea of the ventilation shaft and instead prepare to use magic to completely solve the oxygen supply and cooling problems of the underground base. Both of these problems are difficult to solve, and are bound to be a huge undertaking, so Remy doesn't have a good solution for the time being. While trying to find a solution to these 2 major problems, Remy finally completed the design of the production line for magic guns and magic amulets. The next step is manufacturing. First make the machine, and then use the machine to mass-produce magic amulets and magic guns. But Remy was confused about which production line to manufacture first. From the bottom of his heart, Remy of course wanted to build a production line for magic firearms first, but he was worried that the Ministry of Magic would cause trouble for him. He also wanted to create a magic amulet that could withstand ordinary bullets, but its priority was not as high as magic firearms. This problem troubled Remy for 3 whole days. Finally, he decided to compromise with reality and start by making a production line for magic amulets. While manufacturing the magic amulet production line, Remy also began to design magic glasses that can see harassment horseflies. There is nothing much to design for the function of this magic glasses, and there is no need to manufacture parts and then assemble them. Remy only designed the appearance and materials. The final solution was a pair of gold-rimmed glasses with polygonal crystal lenses, a must-have for even the most refined of scoundrels. There are crystal mines and gold mines, and the raw materials are sufficient for Remy to make whatever he wants. Although the crystal mine belongs to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Remy had already dug out several cubes of crystal when he dug through the crystal mine, which was more than enough for his experiments. Not only is the quantity sufficient, but the quality is also good, and more importantly, there are all kinds of colors available. But in the end Remy decided to use the most common colorless crystal as the lens. Why do glasses have so many fancy colors? Besides, they are not mass-produced. The production line of magic amulets has not been completed yet. After only 4 failures, Remy successfully produced the magic glasses that he had in mind, which can see the harassment flies that Luna Lovegood, a first-year student at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, can see. Remy was so successful that he could hardly believe it. The reason for adding so many restrictive prefixes is that Remy has no accurate concept of the function of the items being refined this time. He must add enough restrictive conditions to the functional concept to ensure that there will be no mistakes. But as to whether there is any error or not, we can only know after experimentation. Practice is the only criterion for testing truth. It went incredibly smoothly, and the amount of magic power consumed was very small. Could it be that creatures like harassment flies really exist in this world? Muttering to himself, Remy walked to the mirror, took a deep breath, and put on his glasses. When he put on the glasses and looked at himself in the mirror, he felt more handsome, but he did not see the legendary harassment horsefly. He was the only creature in the mirror. Failed. Remy sighed and was about to take off his glasses, but suddenly remembered what Luna once said, that he was very special and there was no harassment fly in him. Thinking of this, Remy left the laboratory wearing his glasses, ready to find someone else to try. Just as he left the laboratory and was about to go down the stairs, he heard hurried footsteps and Remy couldn't help but stop. The sound was getting closer and closer, and suddenly, a dense swarm of translucent flying insects appeared in Remy's sight, and then Harry with a sad face appeared in front of him. Remy was stunned for a moment, and couldn't help but narrow his eyes to observe carefully. Are there really such creatures as harassment flies? Oh, Remy, thank God I finally found you, Harry said with relief. As he breathed a sigh of relief, Remy discovered that the number of small flies surrounding him had instantly decreased by more than half, but the remaining ones were still very numerous, still surrounding his entire head. It wasn't that death was falling or that it was entering Harry's head, it just disappeared out of thin air. What's wrong? Are you troubled by something? Remy asked while staring at the small flying insects. Yes. Harry nodded vigorously and hesitated for a moment. Is it convenient for us to go in and talk? I don't want anyone else to know about this. As he spoke, Remy noticed that there were more harassment flies around Harry's head, and these extra little flies, all came out of Harry's head. No, to be precise, it didn't come out of Harry's head, but very, very thin silk threads came out of Harry's head, and these silk threads turned into those little flies after leaving Harry's head. Of course, my friend. Remy smiled slightly as he pushed his glasses up with his middle finger. At this moment, he felt that he had some understanding of what the harassment horseflies Luna was talking about were. Chapter 138. As soon as Harry entered the room, he was startled. It turned out that there was a huge skeleton specimen hanging above the room. Oh my God, what kind of bone is this? A snake? It's too big! Harry exclaimed. It belongs to a basilisk. Remy said, I originally had a whole basilisk, but the professors took all the flesh and blood and said they would do research to see if they could publish some research papers. The most annoying thing is that they didn't even leave me the two most precious eyeballs. Basilisk? What is that? Harry asked curiously. How should I put it? Remy thought for a moment. As you can see, it's a monster that looks like a snake. You should tell me what trouble you encountered. A poor way of changing the subject, but it worked for Harry. Ah? Oh, yes, that's right. Harry came to his senses and lowered his head. At this moment, Remy obviously noticed that the number of small flies around Harry's head was increasing rapidly. I was attacked by a house elf on the same day that Malfoy returned to school. I suspect that Malfoy ordered it to do so. He might be taking revenge on me. I wonder if you encountered it. Logically speaking, you were the one who caused that incident, so he should have taken revenge on you, right? Harry asked. Remy thought for a moment and shook his head. Unfortunately, no. As soon as he finished speaking, there were more flies around Harry's head, and his eyes were full of resentment when he looked at Remy. Well, it seems that he really doesn't dare to retaliate against you. Remy, you have to help me. It's obviously you who caused all this. I didn't do anything. I'm even a victim. Harry said. Really? I don't think so. Remy pushed his glasses with his middle finger, and a white light suddenly appeared on the mirror. First of all, after my trick, Malfoy will stay away from you to prevent others from gossiping. In other words, I didn't harm you but helped you. You have always hated him, didn't you? Harry opened his mouth to retort, but didn't know where to start. Secondly, why must Malfoy have been the one who attacked you? After what happened, I believe Malfoy hates me much more than he hates you. He didn't bother me, so why would he bother you? I don't think he even has the courage to order a house elf to secretly mess with me. Remy said. Harry was stunned when he heard this, and nodded subconsciously before falling into deep thought. Remy didn't interrupt him, giving him enough time to think slowly. After about 5 seconds, Harry came back to his senses. So Remy, who do you think it could be? Could it be Voldemort? Voldemort doesn't have that ability. He's doing fine on his own now. Remy thought about the wording and continued, but his former followers, the Death Eaters, may not be the same. You have to know that it was you who defeated Voldemort last year. Harry was stunned for a moment. How did I defeat him? Didn't you defeat him? It was indeed me who defeated him, but the outside world would rather believe that it was you who defeated him, so the rumor spread and became that you defeated him. And the outside world was not willing to believe that Voldemort really came back. They were particularly willing to believe that the one who attacked Hogwarts Castle was just a dark wizard who was suspected to be a Death Eater. So the version that is generally circulated outside has become that the boy who lived and his friends worked together to defeat a dark wizard who invaded Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. After saying that, Remy shrugged to show that he was helpless too. Ah! I see. I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be like this. I didn't mean to steal your limelight. Harry said embarrassedly. How can this be called stealing my limelight? You were clearly rushing in front of me to take the bullet for me. Remy grinned. Hasn't your revenge come already? The mastermind behind this should be Voldemort's former follower. He is seeking revenge on you for Voldemort or his fellow Death Eaters. Ah! Harry's face suddenly drooped, and the guilt and slight pride in his heart disappeared in an instant. Although those emotions have disappeared, they have been replaced by clouds of sorrow that block out the sunshine. Then what should I do? There are no clues at all now. It's impossible to find out the mastermind behind the scenes. Am I just going to passively take the beating? Harry asked depressedly. Isn't the clue obvious yet? Where's the obvious? Oh, you mean the house elf? But I can't catch it. It teleports. The house elves themselves are a clue. Remy pushed his glasses with his middle finger again, wanting to say in a very pretentious way, the wisdom of mortals. House elves are not something that ordinary families can own. In other words, the families that can own house elves must be wealthy. Are there many wealthy families in the wizarding world that advocate pure blood theory and have had relationships with Voldemort? Remy asked. Harry's eyes lit up, but soon fell into confusion again. Isn't it the Malfoy family that meets the conditions you mentioned? I heard from Ronald that the Malfoy family used to be Death Eaters, but they claimed that they were affected by the soul control curse. Isn't it Malfoy who did it? There's more to the Malfoy family than just Draco Malfoy, and don't you think about how old Draco is? Remy said. You mean? Whether it's the Malfoy family or not, if you follow my line of reasoning, then the mastermind behind this can only be an adult, not a child. They can't command the house elves to run to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to mess with you. Harry suddenly realized. That's right, he actually forgot the special nature of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. How could a child command the house elves in his family to come to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to cause trouble? Besides, with Malfoy's personality of always complaining to his parents, how could he dare to do such a thing without telling his father? If he was caught, wouldn't his parents break his legs? I see, but this can't be used as evidence, said Harry. Now that you have an idea and a goal, are you still afraid of not finding evidence? Maybe next time it appears you can talk to it, if it's willing to talk, said Remy. Harry thought for a moment and nodded. I think it will be willing to talk to me. It's very special and gives me a completely different feeling from the house elves in the castle. Then what are you waiting for? You should go back and find a deserted place to wait for it to appear again. It won't dare to act recklessly here. Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, there were several crisp sounds of metal collision coming from above their heads. The two men subconsciously raised their heads at the same time, and the next moment they were both shocked. The huge snake bone hanging in the air was falling towards them. Chapter 139. Slap in the face, life is too complicated. I just said that no one dares to cause trouble here, but before I could finish my words, I was slapped in the face by actual actions. What Remy couldn't stand even more was the way he was slapped in the face. Damn it! Do you know how much time I spent putting together this skeleton? Wingardium Leviosa. As the spell was shouted loudly, the magic power in Remy's body surged out, and the next moment, the entire room, including all objects except Remy, floated into the air. Including Harry, who was about to roll to dodge. Turning back, Harry was shocked to see the strange sights around him and Remy, who was holding out his hand like a god. Remy, when did you learn to cast spells without a wand? Harry asked. What do you mean by wandless spell casting? Oh yeah, when did I learn how to cast spells without a wand? As Remy came to his senses, the next moment the objects and people floating in the air fell to the ground with a crackling sound. Bang! My snake bones! Remy cried out in grief, tears almost falling. He stayed up all night many times just to put this snake bone together. Although the bone itself is strong enough not to break, it is broken. It is not whole anymore. It's good that you're not hurt. We can fight again later. Harry stood up, rubbed his butt and said, You don't know how many times I've encountered this before. I almost. It's just a hammer. I'd rather get hurt than fight it again. Remy said angrily. A house elf, Hey? If I catch it, I'll kill it. Split it in half, braised in red sauce and spicy in red sauce. Not really, not really, calm down. Harry tried to persuade him, wait until I get my wand back and let me use the repair spell to help you fix it. Hey? Oh, yes, I almost forgot about the existence of the god-level magic called the repair spell. Remy's eyes lit up and he turned to get his wand, but he stopped and turned his head to stare at the snake bones on the ground, a thoughtful look on his face. What's wrong? Harry asked. I was wondering if I had a breakthrough just now. I want to try wandless casting, please move aside, I'm not very accurate when casting. Remy reminded. Harry nodded and quickly ran behind a machine in the corner, only half of his head exposed to look at Remy. He had experienced Remy's outrageous magical abilities before, so he didn't dare to be hit by any of them, even if it was just the most ordinary magic. His butt was hurting now. Seeing Harry in position, Remy turned his head, took a deep breath and reached out his hand towards the broken snake bones on the ground. Restored to its original state. There were no sound or light effects, but as Remy chanted the spell, the broken bones on the ground actually moved quickly to their original positions, and even the entire skeleton slowly rose and returned to its original position. With a click, the ring at the end of the chain fell onto the hook at the top, and everything was back to the original state. Really, a breakthrough? Remy looked at his hands in disbelief, feeling ecstatic. Awesome! You really did it! Harry came out from behind the machine and clapped his hands, his eyes filled with admiration and envy. Can you tell me how you did it? I don't know. I just used it in a hurry. I'll go ask Headmaster Dumbledore. Remy said as he walked over and picked up his wand. Harry also left the room with Remy, but he did not follow Remy to find Dumbledore, but returned to the dormitory. He was more concerned about the mastermind behind the scenes who intended to harm him. I ran all the way to the principal's office, opened the door, and sure enough, Grindelwald was there. Not only was Grindelwald there, but even the wings of End were there, albeit in a shrunk form. No one knew what kind of magic Grindelwald had used on it. Ordinary shrinking spells wouldn't work on animals, and Remy suspected he might have used some more powerful transfiguration spell. Remy, what's up? I hope you have good news and not trouble again. Dumbledore said. I've been busy lately, okay. Remy said, I came here for two things. Oh? Which two things? Dumbledore asked. First of all, when will you perform the magic you promised me? Professor Grindelwald has already started teaching me the fire shield, and I don't even know the name of the magic you promised me. Remy asked. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment and then slapped his forehead. I'm so sorry, Remy, I really forgot about this. Let me put it this way, I may have to go to the Ministry of Magic a few times this week, I will teach you next week. Okay, let me tell you the second thing first. I can cast spells without a wand, puff. Grindelwald, who was drinking tea, instantly sprayed the tea all over the face of Endwing next to him, and Dumbledore was stunned on the spot. Remy was confused by the reactions of these two people. It would be fine if Dumbledore was particularly surprised, but why was Grindelwald also? What happened to you? Remy asked cautiously, taking a step back. Ahem. Grindelwald coughed and wiped his mouth with a handkerchief. Nothing. We just finished discussing how long it would take you to learn wandless casting, and you come here and say you've already mastered it. Remy. You already knew that I can master wandless casting. Remy asked doubtfully. With your talent, it's only a matter of time before you master wandless casting. It's just that your speed is still a little beyond our expectations, although theoretically you should have mastered wandless casting a long time ago. Dumbledore explained. After listening to Dumbledore's explanation, Remy suddenly became even more confused. What do you mean, theoretically I should have mastered it a long time ago? Because of magic? Remy asked. No, the difficulty of wandless spell casting is not magic power, but faith, unwavering and accurate faith without distractions. Grindelwald explained, your alchemy is amazing. Albus and I both believe that the necessary condition for you to perform that alchemy is a firm and accurate faith. Faith? Remy frowned, not quite understanding. To put it simply, when you are casting a certain magic, you are thinking about that magic and only that magic in your mind, Dumbledore explained. Although it only takes a moment to clear your mind and perform the magic, most people need a long time to clear their mind when they first start to cast wandless spells. Well, to be precise, most people are simply unable to clear their mind and must undergo a long period of targeted training to succeed, Grindelwald explained. It turns out that the key to wandless spell casting is to concentrate, not the strength of the magic or the proficiency in magic. Remy suddenly realized, and thought to himself, no wonder he could succeed without using magic many times, it turns out he is a genius. Chapter 140. Focus is Remy's strong point. But he was not born that way, rather, he developed this ability through thousands of times of using alchemy. I am not born strong, I am a genius who works hard. This is what Remy thought at this moment. And in a sense this is indeed the case. Although Remy's alchemy skills are superb enough, the concentration required to use it successfully is something he has practiced bit by bit. The supermodel magic power brought by Mabeo is also because he persists in draining himself every day and finally cultivates it himself. Today's wandless spell casting can only be regarded as the result of years of accumulation. Although I was late, skipped classes, was put in solitary confinement, and was thrown in jail, when I think about it, I am really a talented and hard-working student. After praising himself a lot in his heart, Remy suddenly remembered that Headmaster Dumbledore still wanted to teach him advanced magic. Principal Dumbledore, what kind of magic are you going to teach me? You promised to teach me advanced magic, so you can't go back on your word. Remy said. Of course not. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses. I will teach you the Patronus Charm starting next week. Patronus Charm? It's really high-level magic. That is the only high-level magic that is said to be able to deal with Dementors. Etc. Dealing with Dementors? Remy was stunned. It seems that the Patronus Charm, probably, should, only be able to deal with Dementors, right? Principal Dumbledore, do you think I need to learn the Patronus Charm to fight the Dementors? Remy gritted his teeth and said, can you show some sincerity? You don't have to teach me if you don't want to. How can you fool ghosts with the Patronus Charm? What? You can deal with Dementors without the Patronus Charm? Grindelwald asked curiously. Dumbledore chuckled, but it is indeed advanced magic, isn't it? Of course, if you don't want to learn it, you can give up this opportunity to learn advanced magic. I'll learn. I'll definitely learn. After I learn it, I'll tear down Azkaban. Remy said. It's as if you can't dismantle it unless you learn the Patronus Charm. Dumbledore rolled his eyes and waved his hand, I will teach you magic next week. Now, if you have nothing else, go back first. Who said I'm okay? Remy pushed his glasses up with his middle finger. Do you see my glasses? Through them I can see a magical creature that is invisible to the naked eye. Professors, please help me study it. A magical creature invisible to the naked eye? In the principal's office? Grindelwald immediately became interested. He waved at Remy, and Remy's glasses immediately left his face and floated into Grindelwald's hands. Without putting them on, Grindelwald simply held the glasses in front of his eyes and observed. Where is the creature you're talking about? Why can't I see it? Hey? It really exists. Grindelwald uttered a light exclamation and squinted his eyes to observe the small flying insects around Dumbledore through the lenses of his glasses. What are you looking at? Is the creature you are talking about on my face? Don't be ridiculous. Dumbledore said. Before Dumbledore could finish his words, Grindelwald raised his eyebrows. He saw what Remy had seen before, saw tiny threads coming out of Dumbledore's head, turning into tiny flies as Dumbledore spoke. But the number was not as exaggerated as what Remy saw on Harry. There were only more than 10 around Dumbledore's head. So that's how it is. It's really amazing. Grindelwald raised the corners of his mouth slightly and pointed his glasses at Remy again. Sure enough, you don't have any of it at all, Grindelwald said. Why do you say that? Remy asked curiously. What are you talking about? What do you mean he really doesn't have anything on him? Is there really something on me? Dumbledore shook his body as if he was trying to drive away something dirty, and looked here and there. The more he looked, the more uncomfortable he felt. You can see for yourself, look at me and Remy. As he spoke, Grindelwald gently raised his hand and handed the glasses to Dumbledore. Without hesitation, Dumbledore, who had been intrigued for a long time, picked up the glasses and immediately pointed them at Remy. He saw nothing but a handsome guy. Pointing the glasses at Grindelwald again, Dumbledore immediately understood what the two had been talking about. There really are things. What are these things? Are they around my body as well? Dumbledore asked. Wait a moment, I'm thinking about a question, said Grindelwald. At the same moment when Grindelwald hadn't finished speaking, Dumbledore instantly discovered the same abnormality that Grindelwald had discovered before. Phew, so that's what it is. I thought it was something else. It scared me. Dumbledore said with a smile. I think there's more to it than that. Grindelwald shook his head and suddenly snapped his fingers, then his body disappeared. Can you see them now? Grindelwald asked. Dumbledore's face became slightly more serious. Okay, the invisibility charm doesn't work, so it seems the invisibility cloak won't be able to hide them either. Tisk, I never thought our bodies have been leaking like a sieve. This research is worth publishing 10 papers. Grindelwald said. What are you talking about? Why are you talking about publishing a paper? Why don't you tell me? I'm also a participant, so even if the paper is published, my name must be on the paper. Remy said anxiously. Grindelwald and Dumbledore looked at each other and smiled knowingly, then Grindelwald raised his hand slightly to signal Dumbledore to speak. Dumbledore nodded and looked at Remy. What you see through these glasses is not a real living thing. It is just our thoughts that meet the overflowing magic of nature. Well, a non-living thing that looks like a living thing. Harassment flies, Luna calls them harassment flies. I invented these glasses because I was curious about what the harassment flies Luna was talking about were. Remy said. So you can't see harassment flies without these glasses? What a great name. Dumbledore asked. Yes, it seems that only Luna can see it, no one else can see it. Remy explained. That's normal. Some strange phenomena often require people with unique talents to see. But judging from your reaction just now, you have discovered the truth about these harassment flies a long time ago, right? Grindelwald asked. I just had a guess, so I came here to ask the two professors. I previously guessed that they were related to thoughts, but I never thought that magic was involved in their formation. Remy said. Now you understand why you don't have it anymore, right? Grindelwald asked. Remy nodded. Since both professors said that magic was involved in the formation of harassment flies, it was clear why he had no harassment flies on his body. His magic power is very stingy, and not a single bit of it will leak out when he is not actively using it. Precisely because he had known this for a long time, when Remy first met Hagrid, he joked that he was more Grandet than Grandet. Chapter 141. Some things really require consulting knowledgeable people to truly understand. This was Remy's biggest gain when he left the principal's office. If he had not asked Headmaster Dumbledore and Professor Grindelwald, he would have arrogantly believed that the harassment flies were just the product of thought and would never have thought that magic was involved. It's my fault too. How could there be no magic involved in the magical world? My brain is really a mess. Why can't I get around this after all these years? Patting his head and remembering the lesson firmly in his mind, Remy returned to the common room of the Ravenclaw dormitory building and continued to improve the production line design while drinking tea to see if it could be simplified further. After an unknown amount of time, when Remy was concentrating on drawing, suddenly a strand of hair brushed across his neck and scared him. Do you like painting? I'll go. Remy shuddered and turned around quickly, only to find that it was Luna. Why are you walking without making any sound? You scared me. Remy breathed a sigh of relief and said, I was just drawing for fun. The drawing is quite interesting, can you show it to me? Luna asked. Remy hesitated for a moment before handing the notebook to Luna. Luna took the notebook, smiled, sat next to Remy and began to look through it. Her big eyes were even wider than usual, full of curiosity. You're here at the right time. I've been waiting for you here. Remy said. Wait for me. Luna looked up at Remy, want some pudding? I'm a little hungry. Well. Remy was stunned for 2 seconds, and for a moment he couldn't follow Luna's train of thought. Is this an invitation to have dinner together? But isn't the tone a little too bland? Before Remy could answer, Luna lowered her head and continued to look at her notebook, as if she hadn't said anything just now. How about we go to the kitchen together to have a meal? I'm quite familiar with that place. Remy asked tentatively. Wait a minute, let me finish looking at your painting, Luna said. Remy. Meow, am I being amused? No, how can the initiative in the chat be taken away? Let's get down to business first. I saw the harassment horsefly you mentioned. Remy said. SS. Sure enough, when Luna heard Remy mention the harassment horsefly, she immediately raised her head. Did you see it too? It seems that you and I are the same kind of people. Luna said. No, 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 I still can't see them with my eyes alone. I see them with the help of these glasses. As he spoke, Remy took out a pair of glasses and handed them to Luna. Luna did not put them on immediately after taking them, but was attracted by the appearance of the glasses. These are beautiful glasses. Can I try them on? Luna asked. Remy shrugged. Of course. After putting on the glasses, Luna looked up and down the common room. However, there were only 2 of them in the common room at the moment, so she couldn't verify the effect of the glasses. Even if someone did, there would be no way to verify it because she could see the harassment flies whether she wore glasses or not. I just went to see Headmaster Dumbledore and asked him to try on the glasses. He told me a good news and a bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Remy asked. Good news, Luna said. The good news is that Headmaster Dumbledore saw the nuisance flies through these glasses, said Remy. Oh, and what about the bad news? Luna asked. Shouldn't you be happy about this? Remy asked curiously. Isn't this reaction a bit too bland? For a long time, what I have been insisting on has not been understood and recognized by others. Now someone has recognized it, and that person is a respected person. Shouldn't most people be ecstatic or even cry with joy when they hear this news? Why are you so happy? Luna asked. I always believed that there would be someone who could see the harassment fly like me. Okay, you've defeated me. Sighing, Remy placed his hands behind his head and leaned back in the chair. The bad news is that Headmaster Dumbledore believes that harassment flies are not real creatures. He believes that harassment flies are just the product of the fusion of human thoughts and overflowing magic power, and cannot be considered real creatures. Remy said. Luna was obviously stunned. After she came to her senses, she adjusted her hair and suddenly smiled faintly. Let's go eat pudding. Luna said with her big bright eyes, without a trace of abnormality in her eyes. This completely confused Remy. Aren't you disappointed? Remy asked. Luna blinked her eyes. Harassment flies are real, and I know their nature. Why should I be disappointed? It seems to make sense. In just one day, I not only verified the existence of the harassment horsefly, but also understood what it is. It seems that there is really no reason to be disappointed. After figuring this out, Remy suddenly felt that he could somewhat follow Luna's train of thought. She is not crazy, and her words are not illogical. She just has the habit of omitting some unnecessary transitions when speaking, so her words seem a little abrupt. I see. I am obsessed. Remy nodded and stood up. Come on, I'll take you to dinner. Do you like rice pudding or Yorkshire pudding? I like them all. Taking Luna out of the dormitory building and coming to the kitchen, the little badgers who had already become familiar with Remy immediately started to make a noise. Luna was calm and composed throughout the whole process, but Remy was a little reserved. However, he soon relaxed and even mocked the badgers who came to eat alone or in groups of 3 or 5 people of the same S**X. It was so noisy and lively until Mr. Filch came over to serve the food. Even the badgers, even on their own turf, were still afraid of Mr. Filch. This gave Remy, who had suffered a loss before, the opportunity to taunt them, mocking them for being timid and cowardly and not daring to confront Mr. Filch head-on. The badgers were fine with what they heard, but Mr. Filch himself could not stay still. After ordering 2 sandwiches, Mr. Filch said hello to Remy and left in a hurry with an embarrassed look on his face, which surprised the little badgers. Thanks to Mr. Tofolk, as soon as he left, a large group of little badgers clamored to be Remy's younger brothers, and kindly invited him to transfer to the badger yard as soon as possible to take care of them. After dinner, I strolled around the castle with Luna. Neither of us talked much until it got dark, then we returned to the dormitory building together. After returning to the dormitory to feed Kyoku, Remy left the dormitory again and went to his laboratory to continue his experiments. The night does not belong to the young. The darker the sky, the more energetic he is and the clearer his thinking is. Accompanied by the sound of tinkling bells and occasional bangs, Hogwarts pulled a cloud over himself and fell asleep. Chapter 142. Safe, efficient, silent, and fully automatic, these are Remy's requirements for the production line, and also the actual effect after manufacturing. When the first golden magic amulet came out of the oven, Remy found that he was not excited at all, and he didn't even say oh. He just picked it up, looked at it in front of his eyes, and then put it back on the conveyor belt, letting it pass through the conveyor belt into the machine behind, where it will put on clothes, which will increase its value a lot. Remy was surprised at how calm he was throughout the whole process. As expected, if I don't create something that I'm really interested in, my heart won't be moved at all, let alone smile. Sighing, Remy walked to the workbench and pushed the messy things on the table aside, then took out a pen and paper and bent over the desk to write 2 letters. One was addressed to Fudge, Minister of Magic, and one was addressed to Mrs. Weasley, the current acting store manager. After writing the letter, Remy first sealed the credit envelope addressed to Fudge, and then waved behind him. The bird on the shelf behind him immediately spread its wide wings and flew down from the shelf, passing by Remy and grabbing the envelope. Its sharp beak, which was like a curved hook and slightly shiny, made people worry that it would bite the envelope to pieces, but fortunately it didn't. Its wings were huge, with a wingspan that felt at least 2 meters long. In addition, its claws were long and sharp like daggers. Remy didn't dare to let it stand on his arms or shoulders. It is no longer the cute little bird it used to be, but a real bird of prey. It's a pity that Remy didn't see the expected changes in it. It was just much stronger than before, but it didn't have any magic or supernatural powers. Opening the window to let the hovering long johns away, Remy took a deep breath of fresh air, and suddenly didn't want to close the window just yet. The scenery outside is beautiful. That kind of beauty cannot be appreciated through glass. It must be appreciated at close range. The breeze brought the scent of earth and flowers from afar, making Remy wonder if there were any bees working hard somewhere he couldn't see. The occasional bird calls compose the music of country folk songs, which make people involuntarily indulge in it. It's so comfortable that it makes people lose their ambition and just want to spend their whole life like this. But I'm still young. Retirement and the like are not something I should consider right now. This complicated world needs me to add fuel to the fire and make it burn more magnificently. Remy let out a long sigh, closed the window, distanced himself from the temptation of silence, and focused on his research. It has a bit of the meaning of turning a deaf ear to the world outside and focusing on reading the books of sages. Remy picked up the crystal ball on the table, wiped it carefully, and placed it on his left hand. This crystal ball was one he had made before that could test magic power. He later improved it a bit and now it is a good helper and partner for him in alchemy. With it, Remy no longer needs to rely entirely on feeling and memory to allocate magic power each time. The efficiency is improved by more than double, and Remy can control his magic power more accurately. A double harvest of creation and strength, without any delay in either. Spreading out a design drawing and carefully looking at the part numbered 1, Remy placed his left hand on the crystal ball and picked up a stone with his right hand to use alchemy to refine it. Bang! The explosion was not loud, but in fact it was very powerful. It was just that they were trapped in the purple magic power shrouding Remy's right hand and did not explode. This is a magic trick that Remy created after a long period of practice, specifically used to solve the explosion problem when refining fails. Of course, it also took some guidance from Grindelwald and Dumbledore before it was finally perfected. Failure once was not enough to shake Remy's mentality. After recording the magic value just used with a pen, Remy picked up another piece of ore and continued refining. Experimenting bit by bit, refining one component at a time, facing failure and success again and again, Remy appears to be very patient. He's used to it. In the days that followed, Remy's life became unusually regular. Resting, attending classes, doing experiments, and asking Grindelwald for special lessons, there was no trouble at all. From time to time, Remy would go outside the castle to relax, feed the red squirrel, and observe its condition. It's a pity that it didn't undergo the changes Remy expected, except that its body became stronger and its hair became smoother and redder. However, it seemed to have become the leader of the nearby red squirrels. Remy saw it several times jumping around with a group of red squirrels, and no one knew what it was doing. Moreover, the tribute it offered was more and more each time. Remy didn't take them all away. He just grabbed a small handful each time as a token of his appreciation. Sometimes he simply didn't take any and left them for him to eat. As a result, I found that there were more tributes when I went there next time. On this day, Remy, who had been bored for 2 weeks, went out of the castle again to see the red squirrel. Not only did he see the red squirrel, he also saw Luna, who was trying hard to call the red squirrel. Remy had met her once before when he came to feed the red squirrels and brought her here once. What? Do you like it very much? Remy asked while waving at the red squirrel. The red squirrel, which had now grown into a big guy, jumped onto Remy's shoulder without hesitation. "It's interesting. I can feel that it is different from other squirrels," said Luna. "That's for sure, none of the animals I feed are normal," said Remy. "Really? What other animals have you raised?" Luna asked. Not sure if it was an illusion, but Remy felt that Luna's speech was more normal than at first, and it sounded easier to understand. "Well, I also have an owl, and its size must be beyond your imagination. In addition, I also have a fire dragon that is covered in fire. It is a naughty ghost and it always spits in my face every time we meet," Remy said. "Really? Can you take me to see it?" Luna asked with wide eyes. Remy hesitated for a moment. It's not in my hand now. I'll go ask later. It shouldn't be a problem." "Okay." Luna nodded without saying another word. Seeing Luna stop talking about the dragon and turn her attention to the squirrel, Remy smiled and stretched out his hand to Luna. Luna was stunned for a moment, and after hesitating for a moment, she raised her hand and gently placed it in Remy's hand. This made Remy stunned for a moment, and then Luna was also stunned. The red squirrel ran along Remy's arm and stopped at Remy's wrist. "Well. Actually, I reached out to. Is it afraid of me?" Luna interrupted, looking at the red squirrel with a pair of puzzled eyes. "Or does it not want to be friends with me? Phew, maybe it's because I'm not familiar with it yet." As he said that, Remy stretched out his other hand and gently slapped the red squirrel on the head and pointed at Luna. The red squirrel hesitated for a moment, then carefully climbed up Luna's arm and all the way to her shoulder. Chapter 143. From tomorrow on, be a happy person, feed horses, chop wood, and travel around the world. It's too early to travel around the world, but you can feed the horses and chop wood at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. There are no ordinary horses at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, only thestrals and unicorns that look like horses. Unicorns are elusive and hard to come by, but thestrals are easy to spot. Just go find Hagrid. Remy admired Hagrid very much. This seemingly rough and unruly giant could actually get close to so many magical animals without the help of magic crystals. Remy knew that he could never do that. Not only is Hagrid a friend of magical creatures, he is also a magical creature, a master breeder of magical creatures. He has overcome many difficulties in raising magical creatures, such as raising thestrals. The only thing that Remy couldn't accept was that Hagrid seemed to have some problems with his aesthetic sense. He always called some strange-looking magical animals cuties, such as the eight-eyed spider, and those unknown creatures he had newly bred that Remy didn't want to recall until now, such as the thestrals. I remember there is a conclusion in the horror film industry in the Muggle world: the more something looks like a human but is not a human, the more fear and physical discomfort it can cause in humans. Remy touched the thestral's head and said to Luna beside him, "To me, a skinny thestral is not as comfortable as a skeleton horse." Luna smiled and said nothing, but Hagrid, who was accompanying the two of them in case of any accidents, quickly pulled Remy aside. "Remy, don't say such things in front of thestrals. Thestrals are very smart," Hagrid said, then bowed slightly to thestrals and smiled apologetically. "I didn't mean to insult it, I was just stating my feelings objectively, and it wasn't angry at all," Remy said. "You can't say that, it's a matter of politeness," Hagrid said. Remy shrugged. Hagrid treats all magical animals equally as humans, but Remy can't do that. He is a senior member of the Appearance Association and he only likes beautiful ones. Luna, on the other hand, seemed to have a common language with Hagrid. When she faced the thestrals, there was only curiosity and tenderness in her eyes, without a trace of abnormality. After feeding the thestral 2 magic crystals as a bribe and greeting it, Remy picked up 2 loose tail feathers and plucked them while Hagrid was looking nervous and hesitant. The thestral has no hair on its body. Its wings are featherless like a bat's, but it does have feathers at the end of its tail, very small feathers. The feathers Remy picked were among the longer tail feathers, but they were less than 10 centimeters long, which was insignificant compared to its body size. "Good boy." Hagrid breathed a sigh of relief and patted the thestral's head, even giving it a kiss on the forehead. "Remy, don't do this next time. It's too dangerous. If you want thestral tail feathers, you can come to me. I have collected a lot of them," Hagrid said. "Stamp collecting is only fun if you collect them yourself. Otherwise, why don't I just go to Diagon Alley and buy them?" As he spoke, Remy handed one of the feathers to Luna, who took it and held it in front of her eyes to look at the sunlight. Luna smiled slightly when she noticed that there was nothing wrong with the base of the feather. Using the magic crystal, a little Thestral was lured to come closer and teased for a while. Then a blue flame suddenly stopped in the distance. All the Thestrals nearby raised their heads alertly, and the little Thestrals quickly ran behind their parents to hide. "Sorry, Hagrid, it seems I scared these little guys," Grindelwald said after he appeared. "No, Professor, you were far enough away. They were just a little wary of strangers," said Hagrid. "That's good. Remy, and this little girl, your name is Luna, right? Come here," Grindelwald said. "Okay." Remy clapped his hands and stretched out his hand to Luna. "Let's go, I'll take you to see something good." Luna nodded and took Remy's hand, then Remy walked over and took Grindelwald's hand. After nodding to Hagrid as a greeting, Grindelwald took Remy and Luna and turned into a ball of fire and flew into the depths of the Forbidden Forest. They flew to the top of a mountain in one breath and appeared on the platform at the top. In front of them was a dark cave. Strange rumbling sounds could be heard from the cave from time to time. "This lazy BD must be sleeping again," Grindelwald said with a smile. "Yeah, I heard it. Watch me wake it up in a second." As he spoke, Remy refined a new magic crystal and threw it towards the cave entrance. Before the magic crystal fell to the ground, a huge figure appeared in front of the three people with a bloody mouth open and caught the magic crystal in one gulp. The huge size, grey skin, and blue flames stunned Remy, let alone Luna. "This guy, is he white?" Remy asked Grindelwald puzzledly. "Probably not. I'm not too sure, but it's definitely getting whiter as it grows. Maybe when it reaches adulthood it will completely turn into a white dragon," Grindelwald said. "You're not yet an adult." Remy looked up at the wing of the end, which was several heads taller than him and was lying on the ground. He quickly raised his head and used a levitation spell to stop it from getting intimate with him. If this guy pounced, Remy would be in the ground. He just spun in a circle, and the wings of End, affected by magic, also spun in a circle and made humming sounds from time to time, as if it was having a lot of fun. Judging from its voice and the still somewhat round head outline, it does not look like that of an adult dragon. It's only been that long, and it's special. I think it will take 3 years for it to reach adulthood, which is much later than the average dragon," Grindelwald said. "My goodness, it's no smaller than an ordinary adult fire dragon now, right? What will happen if it is allowed to grow for more than 2 years?" Remy exclaimed. "How is it? Proud, hey? Why should I be proud? You are its mother. Aren't you proud to see your child grow up healthily?" When Remy heard Grindelwald bring up the old story, his face suddenly darkened. "This hurdle is impossible to overcome, right?" Noticing that Luna's hands were slightly clenched, Remy controlled the wings of the End to land and patted Luna on the shoulder. "Go ahead, its flames won't harm anyone who has no ill will towards it," said Remy. Under the curious gaze of Endwing, Luna slowly approached and slowly stretched out her hand. At first, the wing of End seemed to be a little resistant, but soon he started to interact with Luna, and his strength was obviously much gentler when he rubbed Luna. This made Remy feel relieved but also very annoyed. This little BD actually knows how to judge people. Then why did he always knock me away before? Was he doing it on purpose? Grindelwald smiled and patted Remy's shoulder. "I have never been hurt by it." Remy, Blanche. Chapter 144. After fulfilling his promise to Luna and taking her to see Charmander, Remy's life returned to normal again. During this period, Harry came to see Remy again to consult him on how to cancel the contract on the house elf. Remy didn't understand this, so he asked him to go to Headmaster Dumbledore or go to the library to look up information himself. Remy didn't know what exactly Harry was trying to do, and he didn't care. He is not Harry's babysitter, so there is no need for him to care about or help with everything. He was so busy with his own work that he didn't have the time to care about Harry's trivial matters. A batch of magic amulets have been delivered to the Ministry of Magic, but there has been no follow-up. The current inventory is more than enough for every member of the magic world to own one. There is no need to continue producing. The production line can be changed to a gun production line, and the bullet production line needs to be designed separately, but there are many existing parts that can be used. After taking a look at the drawings on the table, Remy let out a sigh of relief. He has finalized the production plan for the final gun production line, producing the gun body and bullets separately. In this way, only one gun is needed to launch different magic by replacing different bullets, which is more convenient to use and produce. If it is an all-in-one magic firearm, not only will it be difficult to produce, but each gun can only fire one type of magic, making it too difficult to sell. There's no need to add any magic to the gun body, but the gun barrel needs to be simulated as a magic wand. The magic bullet can't be fired and release magic directly in the gun barrel, which is no different from exploding the barrel. As for bullets, let's first design some toy paintballs and water bullets to make it easier to promote them to younger age groups. While thinking, Remy walked to the machine and started to remove a ball. This ball was the module responsible for controlling the shape of the finished product. Just by replacing it, this machine for producing amulets could be transformed into a machine for producing gun bodies. The same is true for several other machines. Industrial transformation can be achieved by simply replacing key modules. After taking out the cores that needed to be replaced from several machines and marking them for proper storage, Remy went to the workbench to start a new round of refining. The easiest part is naturally the module that controls the shape, and Remy succeeded in one go. After installing the module back into the machine, Remy pressed the start button to conduct a test run. Automatic loading functions normally. Automatic smelting functions normally. The auto-shaping function works fine. The automatic discharging function is normal. Automatic transmission functions normally. Everything was normal. Remy turned off the machine and picked up the brand new M4A1 on the conveyor belt to examine it carefully. The strong magical smell is so unmistakable that any wizard will recognize it. It is 100% magic certified and is clearly distinguished from the firearms in the Muggle world. When you take the gun apart, every component can be removed and reassembled without any problems. The ability to complete the project in one go is entirely due to Remy's knowledge of firearms. He understands every component of this firearm and has the gun himself for reference. I took out real bullets, loaded them and test-fired 2 rounds, and the feel was very good. Acceptance past the barrel needs to be processed, and then there's the bullet. There still needs to be recoil, otherwise it's boring to shoot, and there also has to be sound and light effects. Placing the new gun back on the conveyor belt, Remy returned to the workbench to continue refining. The things that need to be refined later are much more difficult than before, and the quantity required is also much larger. Time passes day by day, and no one mentions it. But when I count the youth in my pocket, I find there is still a lot. When the first bullet was transported from the conveyor belt to the packaging machine at the back, Remy, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately picked it up and put it into the magazine. Remy loaded the magazine, loaded the gun, and aimed at the door. Without any hesitation, Remy pulled the trigger decisively. Bang! Almost instantly, a patch of green paint exploded in the middle of the dark brown wooden door, fluorescent green. Dang! The bullet made a crisp sound when it fell to the ground after being ejected. This sound immediately stirred up a huge wave in Remy's heart that could not be calmed for a long time. Finally done. Magic guns. Real magic guns. And they are mass-produced. Wizards, tremble. It's so horrible. Ha 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 ha, cough cough cough. Remy accidentally laughed so hard that he choked, and he quickly tried to control himself while coughing. If he keeps laughing like that, it would be too frivolous and he would act like a villain. He is not that kind of person. What bad intentions could I have? I just want to help the wizarding world better defeat the Dark Lord. I am the savior of the magic world. Harry Potter, Dumbledore, they all have to stand aside under the gun. The future of the wizarding world still depends on me to save it. Remy kicked the shell aside and turned back to the production line. At the end of the production line, 3 magazines had already been automatically loaded. Taking out a magazine full of magic bullets and replacing it, Remy aimed at the door again. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, Remy suddenly slapped his head. Oh, I forgot to switch the shooting mode, try burst shooting. Click da-da-da-da-da. After emptying a magazine of bullets in one breath, Remy rubbed his shoulders and felt relaxed all over, refreshed and invigorated. It had been a long time since he had enjoyed shooting so much. Now that he was enjoying it again, there was only one word in his mind: enjoyable. Awesome. I'm such a genius. Mass production. Must be mass-produced. But we can't rush to launch them. Before they are launched, I want to use these guns to give the students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry a big surprise. That underground base can just happen to be put to use. Then we'll have 2 maps, the castle and the underground ruins, hee hee hee. With a meaningless laugh, Remy placed the gun on a shelf nearby, then went to the workbench and began writing furiously again. He had many wonderful ideas that kept coming out, bubbling like spring water. Remy was busy writing down words and drawing sketches when suddenly there was a knock on the door. Boom boom boom. Remy glanced at it and ignored it. He didn't want to stop now, for fear that if he stopped, he would lose the opportunity to grasp those wonderful ideas. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. The knocking sounded for a while and then stopped. Then the door made a slight sound and slowly opened. Then, Dumbledore, wand in hand, carefully opened the door, his expression serious and alert. Headmaster Dumbledore breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Remy was in the room and that his opening the door did not trigger any mechanism. Remy, what happened just now? Professor McGonagall said someone told her that there was a gunshot here. Dumbledore looked around the room while speaking, and when he saw the production line running in the corner, he was stunned. At the moment he was stunned, Remy raised the corners of his mouth slightly and hooked his fingers lightly behind him. Remy, those machines are... Bang! Chapter 145. Dumbledore lived up to his title as the strongest wizard. His reaction was quick, very quick. He dodged almost the moment the gunshot rang out. However, when he appeared next to Remy, his chest was already covered in fluorescent green. He is fast, but the gun is faster. Technology changes our lives, what do you think? Remy asked without raising his head. Dumbledore gave a helpless smile, thinking to himself, you don't need to teach me this, do you think I haven't been to the Muggle world in all these years? Seeing Remy busy, Dumbledore did not disturb Remy, but instead studied the paint on his chest. After studying it for a while and finding that the cleansing spell was ineffective, Dumbledore realized the seriousness of the problem, and turned to study the gun again. After disassembling the gun, I still couldn't figure out anything. I could only see a strong magical aura on it, which confirmed that this was not a gun from the Muggle world. In fact, this can be concluded without research, because the machine in the corner is continuously producing new guns and magazines. So Dumbledore ran to the machine again and studied the production machine, touching it here and there like a curious baby. I didn't expect you could actually make them. What are you going to do with these guns? Sell them in your store? Dumbledore asked. Not selling for now, stocking up first, said Remy. Are the bullets in these magazines the same as before? Dumbledore asked. Yes. After getting a definite answer, Dumbledore breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the magazine and assembled the gun together, studied it for a while, and then shot Remy. Bang! Remy! Remy was instantly speechless after his face was covered in fluorescent green. Dear Headmaster Dumbledore, is it really okay for you to treat a top student like this? Remy asked. Dumbledore chuckled. Haha, otherwise will you hand over the thing that can remove these pigments? Unfortunately, there is no such thing. These colors will automatically disappear after 24 hours. Before that, there is no solution. Remy said. You know alchemy, don't you? Go ahead and do it, said Dumbledore. Not interested. Remy shook his head. Just like the poisons in many movies and TV shows that are said to be the most poisonous in the world, if they have corresponding antidotes, can they still be considered the most poisonous in the world? As long as there is an antidote, there is a risk of it being obtained by others, so the real most poisonous in the world should not have an antidote. Makes sense. Dumbledore thought for a moment and nodded, turning back to study the production line. Perhaps because magic bullets cannot hurt people and are therefore not dangerous, Dumbledore did not stop Remy. He only warned Remy that it was okay to play like this now, but that was the only way, and it was absolutely impossible to make magic bullets that could hurt people. Remy did not fully agree to this, and only agreed that it would not be produced at this stage. You better be careful. If you are imprisoned in Azkaban again because of these guns, it won't be as easy to get out as last time. Dumbledore reminded. Don't worry, I know what's going on. As he spoke, Remy snapped his fingers, and one of the boxes in the other corner was opened. A glittering golden amulet necklace floated out and into Dumbledore's hands. This is a talisman that can defend against ordinary bullets. It can defend against bullets of various calibers. Remy said. Really? Have you told the Ministry? Dumbledore asked. I did, but there's been no reply yet. I don't know what the Ministry of Magic thinks. I said I was interested at the beginning. Remy said depressedly. It's probably an internal debate. You sometimes think things are too simple. This thing is likely to arouse the ambitions of the Muggle unfriendly groups in the Ministry of Magic. Dumbledore said. It's like an ant trying to shake a tree. It's overestimating its own capabilities. The future of the wizarding world must be to live in harmony with Muggles. They want to attack the Muggle world with a small amulet. They definitely don't know what a missile is. Remy said disdainfully. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, and when he looked at Remy again, a different and strange light suddenly appeared in his eyes. At this moment, he felt that he understood Remy a little. Because I understand a little bit, I am even more surprised. I think I understand. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses, then picked up a gun from the conveyor belt and loaded a full magazine. Do you mind if I take it and study it? Don't mind, just give me the money, 1 galleon, Remy said. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, so expensive. Is it expensive? I think it's too cheap. Remy raised his head, now £5 can be exchanged for 1 galleon. You can't buy a gun like this for £5 in the Muggle world. But this isn't a real gun, said Dumbledore. Who said it's not a real gun? If I hadn't changed the caliber, this gun could definitely fire bullets from the Muggle world. Dumbledore took a deep breath and gained a new understanding of the gun in his hand. Fortunately you changed it, otherwise. Shaking his head, Dumbledore pulled a gold coin from his pocket and flicked it towards Remy. I'm leaving first. Professor McGonagall is waiting for me. I don't know how to explain the gun issue to her later. She is much more conservative than me in this regard. Dumbledore said. Wait a minute, the gun is 1 galleon, but the bullets are charged separately, every 100 bullets are sold. Oh. Whoosh boil. Looking at Dumbledore who disappeared in an instant, Remy cursed loudly and made a sharp gesture with the spiritual official's finger towards the place where Dumbledore disappeared, to express his sincere blessing for Dumbledore's deadbeat behavior. Clearing my mind of distractions and continuing to plan my grand plans, time passes by unknowingly. After the bullet expired, Remy still lived a reclusive life and was busy every day. In the blink of an eye, the final exam is approaching. Relying on memory glasses, Remy successfully passed the final exams and survived another year. During the holidays, Remy did not go home or to Nicholas Flamel's house, but stayed in Hogwarts Castle. Hogwarts was deserted during the holidays. Even most of the professors left the castle and went back home. Only a few who had homes in the school stayed. For example, Mr. Filch and Hagrid, and 2 old bastards. When Remy saw that Grindelwald decorated the Chamber of Secrets so gorgeously, he felt puzzled, but he just thought it was Grindelwald's personal aesthetic preference. However, when he asked Grindelwald for tutoring during the holidays, he realized that he was a little too young. This old guy really decorated the secret room as if it were his own home, and even hid a mistress in it. Although he didn't see anything he shouldn't have seen that time, Remy never went to the Chamber of Secrets to look for Grindelwald again after that, in case he saw something he shouldn't have seen and was killed to silence him. It is also to avoid being led astray in certain areas of one's hobbies. Chapter 146. Azkaban is one of the most notorious and terrifying prisons in the wizarding world. Many criminals would rather commit suicide than be imprisoned here. Entering here means being treated more horribly than death. This is hell for criminals. It's not just the criminals, even the Ministry of Magic employees in charge of supervision are unwilling to stay here for long. Even though they can work 1 day and rest 3 days and enjoy super generous benefits, no one is willing to come here to work. All this is because there is the most evil jailer in the entire wizarding world, the Dementor. But not everyone is unwilling to come to Azkaban. Some people with unique tastes will occasionally come to Azkaban to have some fun. For example, Minister Fudge, who was recently driven crazy by a group of people arguing within the Ministry of Magic over whether to purchase magic amulets, came to Azkaban, ready to have some fun to relax. Look at the miserable situation of these guys, and stimulate them at the same time, what a good thing it would be. Coming out of a cell, Fudge took a deep breath and felt refreshed. He hummed a little tune and went to look for his next target. However, his good mood soon disappeared. When the warden used the key to open the cell door that held Sirius, one of the most vicious criminals, Minister Fudge's smile froze instantly when he saw what was inside, and even his breathing stopped. Dementors, a room full of Dementors. But this is not the point. The point is that surrounded by Dementors, the prisoner who should have been in agony was actually sitting at a dining table, eating steak with a knife and fork. Still hot steak. When Fudge saw it, the supervisor also saw what was going on inside. He subconsciously shrank his neck and sweat broke out. Minister, this is none of my business. I really didn't give him these things. I swear, I definitely didn't give them to him. The supervisor said hurriedly, it's just that Dementors often go to the supervision room to ask for things. We just gave the things to the Dementors. We really don't know where they took those things. Often. Minister Fudge exclaimed in a shrill voice. Give them what they want? What are you for? What are your responsibilities? Your duty is to supervise the Dementors here. But they are Dementors. The regulators thought with tears in their eyes. They are Dementors, who dares to refuse them? Especially, they don't come one by one to ask for things, they always come together in a large group. However, the supervisor did not tell Fudge these words. Not only did he not defend himself, he confessed his guilt straightforwardly. Minister, you are right. We have failed in our duties. On behalf of my colleagues here, I am willing to accept the punishment. Please transfer us as soon as possible, said the supervisor. Blanche. I see you guys are eager to leave quickly, right? Now that you guys are gone, who's going to keep an eye on the Dementors? I really want to find an empty cell and put you in there. Minister Fudge said through gritted teeth, then pointed at the Dementors in the room. You bastards! Get out! Fudge roared. However, no one, no Dementor, paid any attention to him, not even one. Sirius, who was holding a piece of beef, blinked and thought for a moment before putting down his knife and fork and wiping his mouth with a napkin. You all get out, said Sirius. As Sirius finished speaking, all the Dementors bowed at the same time, then lined up in an orderly manner and left. This made Fudge so angry that his mouth was crooked. Remy. It must be you, right? When he thought of Remy, Fudge's face became more distorted and terrifying. He recognized these Dementors. The words on their faces had already exposed their identities. They were the ones who served Remy in the past. But suddenly, Fudge looked horrified. Wrong. If Remy had sent these Dementors to serve this traitor who betrayed the Potters, what was Remy's motive and who was he? How did he control the Dementors, who were so vicious and had no human emotions at all? There is also the amulet he invented that is specifically designed to protect against Muggle weapons. And the incredible power he possesses. Could he be Voldemort's? No, impossible. Absolutely impossible. Fudge's expression kept changing. When he thought of that possibility, he didn't dare to think any further. He didn't even dare to think about it. Minister? What's wrong with you? I have some chocolate here. Would you like to have some? The supervisor asked. Ah? Oh, no. It's okay, nothing happened. Coming back to his senses, Fudge hurriedly wiped the sweat off his face with the paper in his hand. When he realized that it was a newspaper in his hand, he quickly threw it away. That's all for today's inspection. Close the door. I have something else to do. After wiping the sweat off his forehead, Fudge left in a panic without looking back. He was very panicked now, a very panicky yuppie kind of person. He didn't want to stay even a second longer. He just wanted to get back to the Ministry of Magic as soon as possible, back to the office that belonged to him and was surrounded by layers of protection. Pa, they got scared like this just because of a few Dementors passing by. These office workers are rubbish. Spatting, the supervisor looked back at Sirius in the cell and glared at him again. What are you looking at? Eat your meal. Bang. Seeing the door suddenly close, and then looking down at the steak, Sirius was stunned. What's going on? I'm living a life of luxury and evil in prison, don't you guys care about it? It would have been fine if they hadn't discovered it before, but now that it's been exposed, why are you still not caring? It would be fine if the regulators didn't care, but how come even the Minister of Magic doesn't care? Not only did he not care, he also ran so fast. Wait. Sirius' pupils shrank suddenly. Is it because of my identity that they don't care about me? Am I about to be vindicated? Or, are they, including the Minister of Magic, followers of Voldemort? Thinking of this possibility, Sirius instantly thought of Harry again. If the Minister of Magic is Voldemort's man, then Harry is now, damn. Bang. He pounded the table hard, then looked at the steak in front of him. How could he have any appetite left? He looked around this extremely familiar room with only one thought in his mind, escape from prison. Suddenly, Sirius noticed the ball of paper at the door. Could it be a message from Fudge to me? Humph. I want to see what tricks you are playing. Walking over, picking up the ball of paper and unfolding it, Sirius was puzzled to find that it was actually a newspaper. Is it a code word? If so. Just as he was trying to find the code word from the newspaper, he noticed the magic photo in the middle of the newspaper. This rat, is you. Sirius's face suddenly became terrifyingly ferocious. I'm in Azkaban. How dare you travel to Egypt? Chapter 147. Deploy troops and fight among 8 people in an innovative way. Plan strategically, black and white strategies are king. Fair competition, the opening masterpiece of esports events. Global server, breaking down barriers and sharing joy. Exciting. Passionate. Brain-burning. Real. A brand new version of The Witcher Auto Chess that you have never played before. Worldwide debut, limited time offer at a bargain price of only 1 galleon. You can't get a bad deal with 1 galleon. You can't get a bad deal with 1 galleon. You can buy the most fashionable toys in the wizarding world with 1 galleon. Without auto chess, you are out. Action speaks louder than words, hurry up and buy it now. The large flashing billboards and the passionate loudspeakers not only bring noise pollution but also light pollution to Diagon Alley. But the effect was very good, and a large crowd surrounded the store called Remy's Aid. The largest number of them were the short goblins. They stood on tiptoe, with red faces and holding signs, protesting loudly. Oppose racial discrimination. Fairies are not an inferior race. Resolutely resist auto chess. Change the racial talents of the fairy in auto chess immediately. Down with Remy. Oppose all discrimination. All rare races in the wizarding world unite to boycott Remy. Remy, the situation is not good. Why don't you change the fairy's racial talent, or even change the name? Ronald shrank his neck and said, the name betrayal is our honor is indeed a bit too much. Why should we change it? Goblins have betrayed humans more than once. Isn't that a fact? I'm just helping people recall that real history. I'm not making it up. Remy said. But goblins are now allies of humanity. Nonsense, how can we betray without an alliance? In history, when were the fairies not allies with humans before they started a betrayal? Can you guarantee that they won't betray us again in the future? Ronald. What you said makes sense, but why do I always feel like something is not right? If things keep going like this, I'm worried that even if they really betray me, it will be because you force them to do so, Ronald complained. Don't worry, look at the customers in our store, there are so many of them. The target customer group of our product is not fairies. Now they are not protesting at the door, they are clearly doing free publicity for us. Patting Ronald on the shoulder, Remy gestured for him to look outside at the crowd that had been attracted by the goblins' unusual behavior. After the huge crowds of people are attracted by the goblins, most of them will go into the store out of curiosity to take a look. As long as they enter the store, how long are they away from spending money? Well, you are the store manager anyway, you have the final say. Ronald, everyone is here, let's get started. Okay, here I come. After responding, Ronald trotted all the way to the actual machine experience area, where there were 4 octagonal tables, 8-sided tables, with a total of 32 sets of the Witcher Auto Chess for players to experience, and 4 games could be played at the same time. Not only does it offer a free trial, it also provides free candies and snacks. Each table also has an experienced player who teaches others how to play. Ronald is one of them. His 2 twin brothers also participate, and there is another one who is an additional temporary worker. Not only can the 4 of them play for free, as long as the people playing with them end up making purchases, they can get a generous commission. Among the 4, Ronald is the best at auto chess, and he seems to have a talent for this kind of chess game. It's just that his level is a little too good, and his desire to win is a little too strong, which results in the kids playing with him having a very bad gaming experience. His sales performance is far worse than that of his 2 brothers who are terrible at chess. To be precise, they are not bad at playing chess. It's just that the 2 of them like to form all kinds of weird lineups. Sometimes they are unexpectedly strong, but most of the time they are vulnerable. The numerous routines created by these 2 funny guys have greatly enriched the playability of the game. After instructing Soul Bullet to be more careful to prevent anyone from running away without paying, Remy walked to the experience area and checked the tricks they used at each table. Remy looked at Ronald's first. He had already put together a basic lineup, but the lineup he chose surprised Remy. A fairy. Remy glanced out the window subconsciously. Didn't you just say that you think the fairy's racial talent is not good? On Ronald's chessboard, there were 3 goblins in different clothes sitting together counting money, and from time to time they let out evil laughter. Since it's the Witcher auto chess, the chess pieces will of course move, and after completing the bonds, special interactions can be unlocked, and even different positions can trigger different actions. I mean, the name is not good, but the effect is still very good. Ronald said, although there is a 50% chance that they will attack their own people, the money-stealing bond activated by the 3 goblins is very powerful. Even if you lose a few times at the beginning, it doesn't matter. After you have money, you can directly switch to the dragon tribe and crush the whole field. Then you have to be able to hold on to the back. As soon as Remy finished speaking, the countdown in the upper right corner of the chessboard ended, and the next moment, 4 more chess pieces appeared on Ronald's chessboard. All 4 of them are charming and hot girls. After taking a look at the number 3 displayed on the chessboard, Remy looked at the little boy wearing glasses and looking gentle at position 3, and couldn't help but exclaim in his heart, the young are really formidable. There are 3 1-star villa, and only 1 is of blue quality. You are really lucky. Remy said as he looked at the goblin on the chessboard who was smug and grinning after smashing the villa with an abacus, a scale, and a weight. The strength of the goblin is not very high in Remy's design. Its individual strength is only slightly higher than that of the goblin among the pieces of the same color. But at this time, one of Ronald's 3 goblin pieces is blue, and the remaining 2 white ones are both 2-star. Only 3 identical chess pieces of the same star can be combined into a higher star. The chess pieces in Ronald's hand have purely overwhelming attributes against those 3 villa. Not to mention that in Remy's design, villa are all ranged characters, and without a meat shield in front to take the damage, they will shatter at the first touch. Not bad. Do you want to play together next time? Ronald raised his eyebrows and said provocatively. I will organize an auto chess competition when I return to school, and I'll wait for you in the finals, said Remy. Okay, it's a deal. Ha ha ha, another lobby manager. 2-star blue, this game is secured. Okay, just take your time and play. Don't just play by yourself, teach them too. I know. I know. Leaving Ronald's table and preparing to go to the next table, Remy suddenly noticed Harry and Hermione coming. Hermione was holding a cat that looked a lot like Garfield and had a face full of hatred and resentment, observing the surroundings with curiosity, while Harry next to her had a frown on his face just like the cat, and it was obvious that he was in a bad mood. What's wrong, Harry? Are you reluctant to give up your vacation? Remy walked over and asked. How is that possible? Harry forced a smile. It's just. I heard something. Chapter 148. It is not wine that makes people drunk, it is people who make themselves drunk. Ignorance and worries make people drunk. Faced with Remy's questioning, Harry hesitated and still did not tell the truth. He only said that he had a very unhappy holiday and had a falling out with his aunt's family. He didn't know, but Remy actually knew everything. The newspaper had published a wanted notice. How could he not know something? This incident also made Remy a little distressed for a while, but Remy was distressed because he had forgotten about the mouse because he was too happy and too busy playing. Fortunately, it's not too late to think about it now, and there is still a lot of fun to do. After chatting with Harry for a while, Harry didn't want to talk about his holiday experience. Instead, he talked about what happened before the holiday and how he used a trick to rescue an elf named Dobby from Lucius Malfoy. I wanted to tell you at that time, but I couldn't find you then, and then I was busy preparing for the exam and forgot about it. Harry said embarrassedly, and then heaved a sigh of relief. The store was bustling with activity, and this bustle made Harry feel a little more at ease, and even made him forget some of his worries. By the way, what are those goblins outside protesting about? Some racial talent? Harry asked. Come with me. Inviting Harry and Hermione to come to the experience area to find Ronald, Remy gave them a brief introduction to the gameplay of Wizard Auto Chess. The game is still in its first version, and there are relatively few races, including humans, fairies, villa, goblins, dragons, giants, werewolves, murlocs, and elves. There are currently only 4 professional bonds: warrior, magician, priest, and assassin. The gameplay is also very simple. 5 chess pieces will be refreshed in this store every round. You use the money given in the game to buy chess pieces to form a lineup to fight against your opponent. If you win, you can get more money, but if you lose, you can only get a little bit, and the player's magic value will be deducted. If the player's magic value reaches 0, he will be eliminated. Hermione, sounds interesting. Harry, I don't think this is simple. I don't understand it at all. It's hard to understand just by listening, but it's easy to learn if you try it yourself. After their game is over, let Ronald play with you, he's an expert. Remy said. Ronald straightened his back quietly, frowning as he kept checking the chessboards of other opponents and observing their lineups through the buttons on the chessboard. Remy explained it to the two confused people at the right time. This is an advanced way of playing. By observing the opponent's lineup and adjusting your own lineup appropriately, you can get a higher winning rate. But it's actually useless. This game is more based on luck. If you can't refresh the required chess pieces, it will be very disadvantageous to change the lineup rashly. When you play later, I suggest that you don't try these fancy things. Just stick to one race until the end. Remy said. Okay, I'll try it later. Harry nodded. At this moment, he was completely attracted by the magical chess pieces of various shapes and lifelike on the chessboard. At this moment he thought back to the days when he lived in the storage room under the stairs. At that time he only had a few motionless chess pieces as toys, and he didn't even have a set. Moreover, this auto chess was different from wizard chess. Wizard chess was a little too difficult and too rigid for Harry, so he didn't really like it, but he didn't hate it either. Luck? It's a good opportunity to see how my luck is lately. Harry thought to himself. After arranging things for Harry and Hermione, Remy went back to continue receiving customers. The store had an unusually large amount of customers today, it was packed, and Soul Bullet alone could not handle it at all, especially since many wizards wanted to study it, which greatly interfered with its work. But Remy did not stop it, which is one of the gimmicks of this store to attract customers, provided they don't do it. At first, there were some dirty people who tried to get in close contact with the Soul Bullet, but they naturally got beaten badly as a result. The power of the Soul Bullet is not to be underestimated. It can lift an adult wizard like a chicken. Unless the wizard has the physique of Hagrid, he will have no power to fight back against the Soul Bullet. Remy welcomed and saw off countless people, and suddenly, everything went dark in front of his eyes. Oh my God, Neville, it's been such a short time since we last met. What did you eat to grow so big? Remy asked with wide eyes. Obviously, he was much taller than Neville when he first entered school, but now Neville is almost a head taller than him. It's impossible to grow so fast by eating jinkla, right? Neville smiled innocently and scratched his head. I didn't eat anything special, I just grew taller all of a sudden. Please come in, what would you like to buy? Remy asked. Oh, I was planning to buy some botany books. I heard that the magic books here are cheaper than those in Flourish and Blots, so I came here. Neville said embarrassedly. The magic books are on the left, but there's nothing particularly rare. Go check and see if there's anything you need. Okay, thank you. Remy asked Soul Bullet to take Neville to pick out the magic book, and continued to receive other guests. After a while, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley came over with their two remaining children who were still in school. Mrs. Weasley took the lead and squeezed through the goblins outside. As soon as she saw Remy, she gave Remy a big bear hug. Then there was a round of caring and concern, but the questions they asked were all about whether Remy had eaten well, whether he had found a girlfriend, whether he had studied hard, etc., which made Remy have no idea how to answer. However, Mr. Weasley was attracted by the novelty of wizard auto chess as soon as he entered the door. After greeting Remy, he ran to find Harry and the others to watch others play chess. It is not difficult to tell from his restless hands that he also wants to play. Mrs. Weasley had no interest in the auto chess games. Harry, Hermione, and the other 6 Weasleys made up a total of 8 people. After one table was over, Remy simply opened a separate table for them. What a person! He is so grown up but still snatches toys from children. I'm so sorry, Remy, for causing you trouble. Mrs. Weasley said embarrassedly. No, this little thing is not a big deal. Didn't you see how many adult wizards gathered around Mr. Arthur? If Mr. Arthur wasn't there, they probably wouldn't even be embarrassed to go over and watch. Remy said. Ah, this guy doesn't even know how to be ashamed. Shaking her head helplessly and amusedly, Mrs. Weasley turned around and quickly got into the mood to help Remy entertain the other guests in the store. I have to say she was very good at handling this noisy and chaotic situation and seemed to enjoy it. Perhaps it was developed from the Weasleys' unique family environment. Freed from the heavy work, Remy leaned against the cashier counter at the door, drinking water and enjoying the hustle and bustle in the store. The reputation of the shop has been thoroughly established, and magic guns will definitely be on the market this school year. Chapter 149. Time is the greatest magic. We only missed each other for a holiday, but when we met again on the train, we were surprised to find that each other looked like poop. It is not obvious for the male students, they are just a little taller and stronger, but the female students have all transformed from buds to early bloomers, completing a gorgeous qualitative change. This made Remy, who had already changed into the Hufflepuff school uniform, regretful. He shouldn't have come to Hufflepuff Academy this year. He should have gone to Ravenclaw Academy this year. There are many more girls in Ravenclaw Academy than Hufflepuff. And each of them is very artistic. But on second thought, although there are few artistic girls in Hufflepuff College, there are many cooks in Hufflepuff College. The most important thing is that eating and living in Hufflepuff Academy does not affect his sightseeing in Ravenclaw Academy. Thinking of this, Remy felt much more balanced. The train to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was still as lively and noisy as before. What was lively was the people on the train, and what was noisy was the train's constant clanging sound. With nothing to do, Remy went to the freshman carriage at the back and took a look around. Some freshmen would say hello, senior to him when they saw him, but most of them looked nervous and did not dare to talk to him. Even wherever he walked, there would be a moment of silence. This is the pressure from the senior. While doing this, Remy also saw some small surprises, such as the cute pets of the freshmen and the wizard auto chess that many people were playing. After going through the whole process, Remy made a statistics and found that about 1 out of every 5 freshmen owned a copy of his Witcher auto chess, which made Remy feel very satisfied. Looking at the sophomores, the popularity of the wizard auto chess among them is about the same as that of the freshmen, which is about 1/5. What makes Remy happiest is the third-year group. This group has the highest penetration rate of the wizard auto chess, almost reaching 1/2. There are people playing it in every box. Some of them are actually playing, while others are explaining the gameplay to their companions who don't have the Witcher auto chess yet. This popularity rate is enough to support the holding of the competition. I wonder how the seniors are doing. Thinking of this, Remy walked towards the front carriage. After just 2 steps, suddenly, accompanied by a violent shake, the train slowed down and finally stopped. There was a commotion in the carriage. Many students leaned out and looked around in confusion. Some students even drew their wands. A gust of cold wind blew by, and Remy shivered. The air he exhaled condensed into white water vapor in the air, and the car window glass next to him quickly condensed into window grills at a speed visible to the naked eye. To be fair, the window paper cut is very beautiful, but in this season and in this place, with the lights flickering and finally going out, no one is in the mood to appreciate its beauty. Even Remy wasn't in the mood. Because, there was a Dementor above his head, breathing madly at him. After sucking for a long time, the Dementor floating in the air seemed to realize that it had not sucked anything. It tilted its head in confusion, then descended a little and sucked hard at Remy again. Remy stood there calmly, looking at it as if it were a fool, and watched it quietly descend until it was almost touching his head. After getting close to Remy's head and sucking hard again, it still didn't work, so the Dementor simply hugged Remy's head. Just as it opened its empty mouth to try again, suddenly, a hand from its companion grabbed its neck from behind and pulled it away from Remy. It turned its head, and the next moment, it was slapped hard and its head turned 3 times. Remy watched calmly, watching the newly appeared Dementor with the number 3 written on its face, and then he slapped the Dementor's head and turned it back. "Is it your new little brother? He has no manners at all. If you take him down, he will get 100 blows on the head," Remy said. Dementor number 3 bowed to Remy, then raised his hand and hit the Dementor's head with a loud bang. The sound was almost as loud as a pistol shot. Remy smiled kindly at the frightened classmates in the box next to him and was about to say a few words to comfort them, but he found that after he smiled, the people inside became even more frightened and huddled together in fear. "Well, I better not make trouble." Shaking his head helplessly, Remy walked over, patted No 3's arm and pointed out the window. "Take him out and beat him up. Don't scare my classmates here. Remember to go out through the door," Remy said. Dementor number 3 bowed to Remy again, then dragged the Dementor and turned into a ball of black gas and flew to the end of the carriage. After being interrupted by the Dementors, Remy no longer had the mood to go to the market for research, so he simply turned around and walked back to his own carriage. They encountered several Dementors along the way, and almost every one of them was very respectful to Remy. Occasionally, one or two ignorant ones would be beaten up by the seniors who knew Remy before they could do anything out of line. Remy treated those ignorant ones equally and took them all out and gave them 100 beatings on the head. After walking 2 carriages, Remy suddenly noticed that a Dementor in front of him actually opened the door of the compartment and floated in. Remy immediately quickened his pace and walked over to it and kicked it. However, after he kicked the ball, he realized that the people sitting in the opened compartment were not Harry and his friends, but 3 girls who were already crying with fear and Luna, who was holding a book and doing something with no fear in her eyes but only curiosity. "You, what are you doing?" Remy asked confusedly. "To be the opposite, I'd like to give one to this gentleman," Luna said after thinking about the wording. Remy. Sending magazines to Dementors? After being stunned for 2 seconds, Remy reached out and pulled the Dementor over. "Did you hear that? Luna wants to give you a magazine, why don't you thank her quickly?" The Dementor was stunned for a moment, then quickly bowed and extended his hand. Bang! "You're so rude. What the hell did I teach you? Bow at a 90-degree angle. Use both hands to receive things," Remy said after hitting the Dementor's head, shaking his hands as he spoke. "This Dementor's head is really not easy to hit, it's too hard." The Dementor felt aggrieved and anxious, thinking to himself, "You've got the wrong accusation, I joined later, I have never attended any etiquette training class." Although the Dementor felt extremely aggrieved, it did not say anything and it could not speak. Bowing again and bending his waist almost in half, the Dementor reached out to Luna again, this time with both hands. Not only Luna, but the other 3 girls in the compartment were all stunned by the scene and even forgot to be afraid. Chapter 150. Talented people emerge in every generation, and the previous generation is even crazier than the next generation. After witnessing Remy's toughness, Luna's sisters came to a consensus. Compared to senior Remy, Luna actually seems extremely normal. When the ticket inspector finished checking and confirmed that every passenger had purchased a ticket, the train started again with a series of clanging sounds. Remy wandered around and found the cubicle where Harry was, and discovered that the 3 people in the cubicle were playing auto chess, and they were not frightened at all. "Hey, are you guys playing?" Remy asked. "SHH. Keep your voice down, the professor is sleeping," Harry said. "Oh." Remy glanced at the grown man with his coat covering his entire head, and thought, "Is this year's defense against the dark arts professor? Probably. I don't know how it compares to Professor Green. Professor Green's class is still very interesting," Ronald said. "Professor Green is still teaching at Hogwarts, but the course has been changed to magic practice, which is an elective. If you are interested, you can choose it later," Remy said. "Really? That's great. I'm lacking opportunities to practice magic right now," Harry said excitedly. As soon as he finished speaking, Harry's face suddenly became depressed again. "It's over, I lose," Harry said dejectedly. "Just start another round, it's just a game." As he said this casually, Remy glanced at an inexplicable bulge on Ronald's coat, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. After a little thought, Remy chose to say goodbye. He decided not to expose the true identity of the little mouse here to avoid any accidents. Catch the thief and seize the stolen goods. Now that things have developed to this point, let's find a way to end it happily. Remy still admired Sirius as a person, otherwise he would not have let his Dementor brother give him convenience in prison. Even though I forgot about his incident later because I was having too much fun, it's not too late to help him clear his name now. It's not a big deal anyway, just a little bit of operation is required. When he returned to his previous cubicle, several people in the cubicle had already started eating and playing auto chess while eating. Remy immediately joined in and turned off the "A True Gentleman Watches Chess Without Saying a Word" mode, and gave random commands while eating. Maybe it was because Remy was the founder of the game. Although he gave blind commands, the 2 students listened to his commands very well. As a result, they lost miserably. The 2 furious men pressed Remy down and beat him up, and finally let him go reluctantly after Remy promised to pack some snacks for the rest of the journey. Remy also played a few games with them. The Witcher Auto Chess can be played online or offline. The 3 people found 5 people who own the Witcher Auto Chess and set up an 8-person local area network to play together. In every game, Remy chose the Vila lineup, which not only concealed his true strength but also made the game pleasing to the eye, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. When the train arrived at the station, Remy had just achieved 3 consecutive defeats. It was raining and the ground was muddy. Fortunately, Headmaster Dumbledore seemed to have taken this into consideration and arranged many driverless magic cars in the shape of old cars at the entrance of the station. But the freshmen are in a miserable situation. They still have to follow the tradition and walk in the rain along the path that their predecessors have walked, wearing raincoats. Retro styling, old interior, and a speed that is almost as fast as the first-generation car of Lao Tuol. Remy had only seen it on TV before, and now it feels quite exciting to ride it in person. It's just that the shock absorption is not good enough, and his head hit the roof several times along the way. But there was one thing that made Remy very satisfied. The car did not stop at the school gate, but drove directly into the castle gate inside the school and stopped. We arrived at a new dormitory. The hard-working house elf had already carried the luggage to the dormitory. Because he is a transfer student, Remy can still have an entire dormitory to himself this year. But it doesn't matter to him. He didn't live in the dormitory most of the time last year, and it won't be much different this year. After simply packing up his things, releasing the long johns from the cage and feeding them food and water, Remy cast a cleansing spell on himself to clean off the rain and mud on his body. A wandless cleansing spell. Ever since being enlightened by Dumbledore and Grindelwald, Remy's magic level has skyrocketed, and now all the magic he has learned can be cast without a wand. Moreover, the control over the power is also significantly improved, which is much higher than the control when casting spells with a wand. Remy suspected that he should cast spells without a wand, as using a wand would affect the full display of his strength and talent. When I arrived at the auditorium, the atmosphere today was obviously different from usual, probably because the rain outside was heavier, with thunder and lightning. This class of freshmen was definitely the most miserable one Remy had ever seen. When they entered the auditorium, their hair was wet and they made hissing sounds when they walked, causing many people to burst out laughing. This made the already embarrassed freshmen even more embarrassed. They all blushed and lowered their heads, not daring to speak. There is something unusual this year, so unusual that even the dullest person can notice the abnormality. First there was the strange experience on the train, and then there was the fact that after the routine sorting the dinner did not start directly, but instead the Ravenclaw Academy choir performed a chorus for everyone. Although the music had a cheerful rhythm, adding such an item at this time was like giving a death row inmate a dinner before his execution. Almost everyone looked heavy-hearted when listening to it. When the music ended, Principal Dumbledore walked onto the stage with a serious face and informed everyone of the new changes in the school this year. Dementors have moved into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Dementors are born without the ability to forgive. I hope you won't provoke them, so as to avoid any accidents that may lead to irreparable consequences. Headmaster Dumbledore said, and then he gave Remy a meaningful look, which made Remy very confused. How could a good student like him possibly provoke Dementors? After talking about the precautions, Headmaster Dumbledore introduced the changes of professors this year. Professor Green was transferred to teach other classes. The Defense Against the Dark Arts class was taught by the new Professor Lupin this year, and Hagrid also became a formal professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, responsible for the protection of magical creatures class. The atmosphere was still dull at the beginning of the dinner, but after eating for a while, everyone seemed to have forgotten their worries, and almost everyone enjoyed the food in front of them and ate to their heart's content. During the meal, 1,000 paper cranes flew from somewhere and landed on the plate in front of Remy. When he opened it, there was only one sentence inside: "Come to my office after dinner, Dumbledore." The first note I received in the new school year was actually from Headmaster Dumbledore. How can I describe this feeling? It was very wonderful. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.